All right, welcome in everybody. We are live. Welcome back to the Remington pod. We are just in the middle of the sports world on a Tuesday night. I tell you, I feel like we're in a fever dream right now. I mean, we have to do a double check. IT, is this AI? What's going on in the background? Is Scalabissier checking into a basketball game? Hey, yo, off to a hot start. Again, we're really into the NBA diehard segments of the NBA corners there. When we start mentioning guys like Scalabissier, shout out, legendary name for those who know. I don't know that I didn't realize that it was still plausible an opportunity for him to be playing in the NBA in 2025, 2026. Ayo. But yeah, he's on the Wizards right now. So I guess again, do we accidentally pull up a 2K, an old 2K, and we're just watching like the Sims of that? I guess the older ones probably not as good of graphics where they would be, as realistic. I guess how we're all gonna go with Scalabissier in the league. Hey yo, it is what it is. But yeah, we do have a little NBA on it. We could get the Wizards in a close game against the Blazers. So our journalistic integrity says we gotta watch close games. And the our Michigan Wolverines are playing Nebraska right now at the Maize and Blue home court, and it's a top 10 matchup in the college basketball world. Michigan only one loss. Nebraska's 20-0. So I don't know if Matt Rule's also coaching the basketball team, but yeah, obviously, are they number 5 right now in the country? So like we said, I don't think it quite is top. I think 5 versus 8 is the official matchup. I guess we could double check that part on the scoreboard and see what we have officially, because I think that would be the highlight game of the day. Oh no, Michigan's higher ranked. We were thinking maybe it was an 8, it wouldn't be considered an upset, but oh no, the higher ranked team at home, it's not looking good. Down 3 only with about 4.5 minutes left. So hopefully this is one of those they can figure out closing the game type scenarios. Start prepping them for March Madness, start prepping them for conference tournaments runs. We're getting closer. It's definitely right around the corner here. But yeah, obviously, like we said, gonna be clutch. But there is some groundbreaking. I guess not ground, but some earth shattering. I guess groundbreaking. Usually means like a first, right? But a non-first. Either way, it's just shocking news is basically the right way to say it. In terms of the, in the sports world context, we've had some shocking sports news on a Tuesday night. It is what it is. Our poor guy, Bill Belichick. They have apparently announced the Hall of Famers for the NFL, and Bill Belichick has not gotten in. Bill Belichick will not be technically, I guess, a first ballot Hall of Famer. Seems like a little technicality, but it is a pretty big deal. And I don't know if we're, able to necessarily like rank the Hall of Fames, in terms of accuracy and representations of the leagues, however you want to phrase it. Like, I don't know what league has the, necessarily the best Hall of Fame. Hey, yo. But the NFL does have a pretty, the NFL has guys waiting to get in terms of like, again, the eligibility. Hey, yo, Bill Belichick, like we said, is missing out on his first year. But the fact that there is that good balance of, kind of competitiveness of players having to, maybe, there is a little bit of a, a waiting line. And again, for NBA, you don't even necessarily consider first ballot Hall of Fame because, again, maybe just a lot of guys get in on the first ballot. It is what it is. But for the NFL, it is, of course, a big deal. And, I guess there is, like we said, the technicality that maybe is he still coaching somewhere? So he is at North Carolina, as long as he is still actively a presence in football, is the voting committee not voting for him there? And I haven't necessarily even looked at the articles, but it does say that earlier this month, Belichick fell short of the 40 of 50 votes needed for induction to the Pro Football Hall of Fame during his first year of eligibility. 4 sources with firsthand knowledge of the outcome told ESPN Belichick received a call from the Hall representative last Friday afternoon with the news he won't be inducted into the Hall in Canton, Ohio this summer. And I didn't even know they did that. Hey, yo, they just call you and tell you you're not getting inducted? I mean, again, there is that level of guy where Belichick is like, if you have to get a call to tell you that you're not getting in, does that mean you probably should have gotten in? Because I guess, if you're on, is it everybody up for nominations? But the nominees are just like, I guess, do you have to vote on the nominees? Is there there's like a write-in candidate eligibility as well too? I guess I don't know the technicalities of that. So I guess I don't know if every player that is eligible, is eligible, if that makes sense. Like for the All-Star game, in the NBA, like Bronny can get 2 All-Star votes in the NBA. Like, could you, at the end of his career, 5 years, could you technically vote for Bronny into the Hall of Fame? Like, you'd lose your vote, again, it wouldn't ultimately, I guess, we got to get to the end of the career before we start projecting, but yeah, we're just writing him off like Brownie. I guess not going all man, is right, but I guess I don't know if it works that way where it's like everybody is on the table, or again, if it's like they approach if like the committee has like 20 candidates and then they narrow it down to whatever the exact number is. But yeah, like you said, they had to call him and tell him that he was not getting in. So again, do they have to take care of that for every candidate? Would be a little bit of a weird thing. Several sources who spoke with the coach over the weekend described Belichick as puzzled and disappointed by his insecurity to secure support from at least 80% of the Hall committee members. 6 Super Bowls isn't enough, Belichick asked an associate, referring to the championship he has won as head coach of the New England Patriots. And it's funny that they have it phrased as like his inability to secure 80% of the vote as well too. It's not even just his ability to just win the vote, get in the Hall of Fame. It's like he didn't even get the whatever the majority number that you have to get in is. It sounds like it's like a Game of Thrones plot line. It's something, Bill Belichick is not securing he did not get the supporters in the AFC East or whatever that he needed to get in the Hall of Fame nod. But I mean, yeah, 6 Super Bowls is enough. As a associate, referring to the championship he had won as head coach of the New England Patriots, and the 2 more he had won as defensive coordinator with the New York Giants. To another associate, what does a guy have to do? He said, see, Belichick's a funny guy now. See, he can the Netflix roast of Bill Belichick is, what does a guy have to do to make the Hall of Fame? Even Bill Belichick can't even get in the Hall of Fame in the first round. But another source familiar with Belichick thinks it's politics kept him out. He doesn't believe this is a reflection of his accomplishments. And I mean, that is 100% true. And at least Bill Belichick has, a little bit of an honest take on things. Hey, I guess this is another source familiar with Belichick said politics get him out. He doesn't believe this is a reflection of his accomplishments. So they are saying that maybe he said to them, directly kind of that, I mean, obviously, and then, that's exactly what he's saying earlier with, 6 Super Bowls is enough. What does a guy have to do? But, again, this is not a reflection of his accomplishments. And it does get into the list of guys as well, too. We'd have to even, there are some major sports examples of guys that, are not able to get into the Hall of Fame for various reasons. I mean, you hate to bring the name up every time there's something like this, or anytime, just a Hall of Fame snub or something like that happens. But, the legendary, rest in peace, Pete Rose was, of course, the number one example of a guy that absolutely should have been in the Hall of Fame based on resume, but because of technical reasons, was, unfortunately not able to get in. And, I think the legend of the Pete Rose, allegations are that he was, he was betting on himself, right? Is that like the whole thing? So, I mean, it's like, oh no, Pete Rose is actually like even cooler now. He's like going to the, whatever the odds are for me to hit home runs, so he's just like making all this money. It is what it is, which, I mean, again, if, Pete Rose, obviously, I mean, maybe, again, we're just maybe narrowing it down to some of the baseball stuff as well too. But, there is almost that element of like, should you be able to, like, baseball is the one sport where maybe you should actually be able to bet on yourself, because it is the one team sport anyways, because it is the at-bat scenarios are the most, individual elements, I guess, of a team sport maybe that we have. But that just seems like the most natural thing to just be like, I bet you $200 I could hit a home run on this at bat right here. It just seems like something that you could just do in the dugout. So I guess, is the MLB banning that from, I guess that's not banned. That's probably not banned from the NFL or the NBA as well too, I guess, didn't they say Jordan, used to do that. Jordan, I guess, yeah, hey, yo, what, Jordan gambling, shocking. But, I guess maybe he probably still does, though I don't know how much basketball he actually plays these days. But in terms of gambling on basketball, we're talking about. But I think that I thought I heard a story about he would bet people at the free throw line. So maybe I'm making that up. Maybe we're just tossing that out there, pause into the into the ether as like another myth for the Jordan legacy. He just used to be like, $500 if I can make this free throw. Which how many years can you get away with that if you're MJ? You probably got like 16 games before guys start dialing in on the free throw percentage. But yeah, again, for guys along those lines, it is like Pete Rose, had a lot, again, not to rehash the whole thing, but some definite reasons that were very, very arguable. Like the Belichick thing at the end of the day, you can argue about what it has, I guess, done to maybe what he could have been over these last couple of years as a head coach, but it can't have like undone an entire legacy at this point of greatness as a head coach. And he still is, you would assume, like, how many years at this point now are we going to have to go through the Hall of Fame where it's like, oh no, Bill Belichick didn't get in. I mean, you would assume just the outrage of this omission alone, he's going to be a second ballot Hall of Famer, and they'll correct that. And maybe, who knows? They're like, oh yeah, wait a second, we actually misspoke and I read it's going to be like a best picture situation. Actually, Bill Belichick is the Hall of Famer all along. Oh, Michigan! Maybe we don't say anything. Things are going well since we stopped paying attention here in the second half. Since we started focusing on Wizards, Blazers. Hey, yo, it is what it is. Did we finally admit what game we had on in the background? I don't know if we actually said it or loud or not. We did say Wizards, but I don't know if we said the actual matchup. It is what it is. Again, it's just that time in the NBA season. We're just in the pause in the middle. It's we're hitting the All-Star break soon. So Chet, first lead since 90 seconds into the game. Hey yo, 74-72. Again, I guess we're the number threes. Well, I guess maybe we're not the favorite if they're undefeated. 18-1 versus 20-0, but we're at home. Hey, yeah, what are we even talking the line for on a college game? Hey, it is what it is. But for a guy Belichick, like we were saying, it is those like Pete Rose, all the other guys, like we were saying, he doesn't really have, outside of just the last couple of seasons, like an obvious reason to keep him out. I guess maybe if you wanted to say, and I don't know, I just now thought of this as well too. I was like, what would be another reason? I guess we could scroll and see if it keeps saying, if it gets into the specifics, of what maybe is the politics that kept him out. But I think it's something about being in, and then also I think that might have kept him out. I'm not sure, but and then the finalists. So is this the actual final finalists, or is this just the finalists for the finalists? I guess we could get that clarified as well too. But for the politics that kept him out, again, maybe you could say like the shadiness of some of his teams. Bill Belichick, he had Spygate and he had Deflategate and he had, obviously those are the two major ones. I feel, is there a Pizzagate in there? Or is that something else? Maybe that's, does that have to do with the defense? I don't know. But, there was multiple times when it felt like the Patriots were kind of towing the line of maybe legality in terms of some scouting and some game techniques for playing these games. And maybe the Colts were also at times towing the line for, whining about it as well too, with complaining about Deflategate. But the Patriots won the Super Bowl the next year, so it's not like we can it's not like it really worked out too much for what Indy did. But for him, that would be the only thing that I could consider would be the Hall of Fame thing, because he would be the only guy in history that would be, I think, have his like the good, hey yo, what are we trying to, the benefit of the situation that he was in, be held against him. And, he is maybe directly responsible for creating the greatness of his teams as well, too. So it kind of goes hand in hand. And, the argument, of course, over these past couple of years has become the impact, of who, the greater impact between him and Tom Brady on the team. And if you were looking at his non-Tom Brady years, as a head coach, that would be, I guess a really interesting case, I guess. If you were saying, okay, well, the Browns years and then the post-Brady, like we're saying, Patriots years, probably not a Hall of Famer in those years. I guess we could check and see. He's probably more near a 500 coach as well, too. So, again, it is a major drop-off. But nobody else is really held to that standard. Like, you're not judging Scottie Pippen. You're not judging him only based on the years that he didn't play with Michael Jordan, or, the other way around as well, too. You're not judging him based, you're not judging Michael Jordan based only on his Wizards years and just going, well, I guess he wasn't a Hall of Famer in his Wizards years. The man's not the greatest player of all time. It is what it is. I guess, that specifically for Jordan, obviously, is interesting because, the longevity, the peak powers, pause of like, LeBron being in year 20 is definitely part of the argument. If in terms of the basketball careers, the would you rather of the basketball careers of it all. Doom, Bill Belichick, Doom, he should actually be playing Dr. Doom in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Imagine, was there an opportunity, or did he go to UNC the season before they cast Downey? I guess he was at UNC he left North Carolina. Did he go to UNC last year, 2 years, 3 years ago? Does it say on here when he might have gone and coached the Tar Heels? But yeah, was there an opportunity for them to cast Bill Belichick as Dr. Doom? And then they were like, oh no, actually he's gone. He's over in the ACC now. So now we have to go back and get Downey. The hoodie, Dr. Doom, he could be I think, Palpatine is obviously a comp that I think he's gotten time and time again, but he could be Doom, right? An older variant of Dr. Doom. I mean, we don't necessarily know too much about the comics, so I can't necessarily say, like, what an older, are there older variants of Doom? I know that, he goes through some stuff as I guess, spoiler alert for Avengers Doomsday as we just, give you Dr. Doom's backstory, but he goes through some stuff as a kid and then gets the mask fused onto his face as part. So I guess, a pivot to Doomsday. Now we're in a new Rockstar's corner on the Rem and Sam live streams. Shout out to them over here. But Downey, when I guess they're not going to actually fuse the mask to his face. So in order for him to do the face reveal, he does have to take the mask off. And we haven't actually seen Fantastic Four yet, so I don't think they would have had mask off Dr. Doom in that. But is he shown with a mask on? I guess, is he going to get the mask fused to his face is the question. So, is Downey going to be, like, visible in the movie for, like, 20% of the movie, 30% of the movie? Maybe, like, the first 30%, first third, and then he just, like, gets the mask, permanently attached. And I think he might do that intentionally to himself. So maybe that honestly could be the end of the movie going into Secret Wars as well. The Russo brothers will have to see where they maybe adjust the timeline for that part of the event. But if Bill, again, I guess that could even work in favor for casting a guy like Bill Belichick for this type of thing, because he would maybe only, like we're saying, have to, for the camera time, be in the movie for less. And then, you could take care of that. I guess it really could only be, you could just have like a couple flashback scenes. Like, again, if it's older Dr. Doom, he could already have the mask permanently attached, and then, and then, just like a couple of like two year ago, I guess, because Bill Belichick, you'd have to get into that like Irishman de-aging technology to have to, to get there, you start getting into some of the real flashbacks. It is what it is. But, it's like, okay, 2 years ago, before he became Dr. Doom, a late bloomer, I don't know. But maybe Steve gets the role. Steve Belichick. I'm not sure. But, regardless, again, it is, you could look at, like we're saying, the non-Brady years. He was in Cleveland 36-44. So that's only not, that's not only not 500. That's pretty poor there. Of course, 2019, that 12-4 season, with Brady. They got eliminated early from the playoffs, but you'd still have a good playoff record there. And then 10-7, 8-9, and 4-13. So, again, he is going to be 500 plus for the Pats. But for his career wins total, he would be, here we can just add these to what we have, 36. So he's 65 career non-Brady season wins, vaguely, if we're just calculating those seasons up. And then for losses here, he would have 44 in Cleveland, and then plus the couple seasons, like we're saying, at the end of the Patriots' tenure there, would put him up to 82. So what do we say, like 65, 66, and 82? Something along those lines. So, again, I guess not super great. So it is an interesting case, but again, nobody's held to that standard. It is what it is. The majority of his career was with this championship level team, and as important as we could sit, like we say, we could sit here and debate the importance of Brady and Belichick for those championship teams. It really is, like we're saying, very interesting. Obviously, the record is what it is for Belichick and Brady. Yes, I mean, Tampa definitely turned around. I mean, Tampa's roster was better. Like, you have to give them credit for that. And there was that, you like Manning going to Denver, there is that sort of rush timeline of like, okay, we have to build a winning team now. Like, maybe you're throwing the chips into the table, a little bit more willingly. Oh, Nebraska with the game winner. Okay, off the rim. Pause. Shout out. No foul called. Michigan. Hey, yo. We weren't paying attention to the end there, but they stole that. It is what it is. I don't know how they were. I guess we weren't down by too much there. But, Nebraska team with the lead, again, maybe even on the road is tough. But still, you could imagine them being able to still hold that one out. But we'll take it because we already have a loss in the season. So we can't go 2 losses in with another Big Ten team that is already unbeaten. 13-1 all time versus Nebraska at Ann Arbor. Hey, yo, who lost the game at Ann Arbor that one time? That would be a tough one to have to think about, I guess. You probably didn't even realize that was the case when you lost. You're like, wait a second, I remember losing to... You probably, like, there's some former Michigan player right now that's watching this game, and they're just like, oh, that's a close one. I remember when we lost to Nebraska at home court, and they just showed that stat, and they were like, wait a second, we're the only ones that lost? No, they probably knew right away. Hey, yo, it is what it is, competitive nature. But, yeah, so, again, there is that timeline of, like, you get Brady, you only have him for a couple seasons. You get Manning on Denver, you only have him for a couple seasons. You're going to be more willing to spend on the short-term contracts for the veteran guys because, again, they have a quarterback as well, too. But, yeah, that team was definitely pretty talented on offense. And, obviously, their defense was great as well, too. I mean, speaking of the Patriots, I don't know, this weird sort of Patriots-Tampa crossover thing, I guess, in a sense. I guess Belichick maybe has really no association with Tampa, but they did have, of course, Carlton Davis on that Super Bowl team for the Bucs, and the Patriots right now have him at corner as well, too, and he has been really, really great for him in this playoff run and was always a guy that elevated his play for Tampa as well, too. Him and Dean were both a pretty, that was a pretty underrated cornerback duo in Tampa, for sure. But here, looking back at that defense, was that 20? Yeah, 2020. With Shaq Barrett, was this the season that he had a ton of sacks? Or maybe it was the next season after this that he went crazy. But he obviously had a major stats year around this time as well, too. And for him as a pass rusher, yeah, I guess they didn't really have one, individual that stood out. But they had a depth of guys. JPP, Devin White, inside linebacker, getting to the quarterback almost 10 times that year is pretty impressive. And then, yeah, Shaq Barrett, only 8 sacks, this year. Ndamukong Suh was 6. Winfield, Levante David as well, too. Not really getting any, sacks to the quarterback, but just as a member of the defense. Vita Vea healthy for a playoff run. Winfield was fourth. Oh, Defensive Rookie of the Year voting. I was like fourth in Defensive Player of the Year voting. Hey, yo. But Levante David, the veteran linebacker, was second in the AP, the All-Pro team that year. Same with Devin White as well, too. So, yeah, that linebacker core was obviously flying around. And JPP was on the Pro Bowl. And like we're saying, Carlton Davis and Dean, Jamel Dean, is as good of a cornerback duo that you're going to get for a playoff run. So they were obviously locked in. Brady locked in with the guys on this offense. Ronald Jones. Oh, yeah, Fournette. I was going to say Fournette was the lead runner in the playoffs. But, yeah, Ronald Jones, I guess going into the season, the Ronald Jones fantasy hype was definitely there. And, yeah, I mean, Fournette was awesome in the playoffs, obviously. Look at it. 300 yards rushing in 4 games and, 450 yards from scrimmage and 4 touchdowns in those 4 games as well, too. Unfortunately, not as much from Ronald Jones. Though 139 in 35 attempts, it's not nothing. At least he's able to, give the supplemental minutes when you need. And he did show his athleticism, 98-yard touchdown over the course of the year. Almost 1,000 yards and 7 touchdowns as well, too. So, again, he was productive. 5 yards a carry. Like, I guess we're underrating him for sure that year. Fournette was under 4 in the regular season. So, it was definitely a hot playoff run for Fournette. But regardless, the non-Brady Belichick years would be more successful. Arians, a pretty good coach. Todd Bowles, I guess, now ascending as the head coach. But who started as the head coach? Was it Arians the whole time? Or Bowles took over for Arians? Arians didn't take over for somebody, did he? Did he? He didn't take over for Diddy. But, Dirk Carter? Dirk Carter was there before. Yeah, I don't think he was there he had no Brady overlap. Just him and Jameis Winston. Once they brought in Brady, I think they were like, yeah, we could probably, do a little bit different than Dirk Carter. It is what it is. Shout out. So, yeah, Arians, again, very, very, very great head coach. I don't know if he's a Hall of Fame contributor to the game overall, but, again, as a head coach, definitely a guy that can coach you through a playoff series and through a playoff run. But for the comparative runs that they both had, Brady would definitely probably have the standout performance anyways in terms of the lone season as the lead guy. Again, Belichick as the head coach for Cleveland, as the head coach for New England in those years, like we already looked at the record. But, you could also, of course, have the argument of those other years those early years for Brady and what Belichick and the system meant to Brady in those early years and what that meant for that team, having the winning run that it did. And to be honest, like if you go and look at that resume alone should almost be enough for a Super Bowl for a Hall of Fame head coach. Kevin Gates, Chad. Kevin Gates just playing on our speakers. I guess if the microphone didn't pick it up, that's what we were freaking out about. Our phone just playing up some Kevin Gates. It is what it is. I guess it's not just it is what it is. We're fat fingering that on the Spotify. I guess I don't know how it was. That was like a crazy sit the phone down, somehow swiped over, opened 6 apps, and played a Kevin Gates song on Spotify. I'm not exactly sure what just happened there. I was trying to open the remote for the TV to switch the game, but it is what it is. Shout out to Kevin Gates. We love it. We love a Kevin Gates appearance on a Tuesday night live stream. Call in for sure. Okay, shout out Peacock. They're switching the game automatically. It is what it is. Sixers versus Milwaukee. Sixers up by 12. We may have to switch the game again. Oh, no. Is Giannis even playing tonight? I'm not sure that he is going to be playing for Milwaukee again. Unfortunately, we might have to go to Giannis trade machine as well, too. It's about that time. We haven't done Giannis trade machine officially in like a week and a half. So, it's about time we get back onto that. Alex Sarr, 30 points tonight, though. Shout out. I guess Scalabissier, has he checked back in the game? Did we make that up? I don't know. Is Scalabissier, is his knowledge as a veteran at this point a reason why Sarr is able to be successful? Imagine that was their guy. They're like, who in the league could they're like, who do we need to bring in as a veteran that's been around for a while that, Alex Sarr can kind of model his game after, that he's kind of similar. Scalabissier. Shout out. Again, legendary. 5-star recruit, right? For Kentucky. I mean, he was, like a 5-star-ish draft prospect. 4.5-star prospect in the draft, NBA draft. If we had to put a star in it, maybe we should start star in the draft prospects for the NFL. And maybe that would help with the range. I don't know. If guys would just be like, well, you took Cole Strange, you took a 2-star prospect in the 20s. Like, maybe that's just not the public move that should have happened. But is that the move that is keeping Belichick out of the Hall of Fame? He took Cole Strange. I mean, that was honestly the beginning of the end. I mean, we didn't realize that the beginning of the end was going to be he's going to draft Cole Strange and then, date a 25-year-old, but I guess it was all part of the plan, part of the narrative. Hey, yo. It was definitely, I guess, the sequence of events there for Belichick's legacy starting to crumble. It is what it is. But like I'm saying, we're here to defend it. We're here to just say that this is nonsense. The only thing that you can look at this point for Belichick is right now and say that, what does his circumstances, and like you would do this for anybody. Again, I guess, what's fair, obviously, again, in terms of, I guess, people, personal lives and stuff like that. But for the most part, like for anybody, how are their circumstances going to affect their production? For Bill Belichick, how are his current circumstances going to affect his current production? That is basically the thing that you have to debate at this point. But in terms of what he has been to the NFL and what he has been to championship teams and what he has been to, again, just generations and influencing guys, and I guess, is the Belichick coaching tree the other thing? Like, does coaching tree have to be part of your Hall of Fame resume? Again, that is go case type stuff. That's, is he the greatest head coach of all time? Is there one other guy? Is there 2 other guys that you could argue above him? But, the only other names, like the only name that you could think of right away as a head coach, like who's a better head coach all time than Bill Belichick? It's, hey, yo, shout out Sam, shout out Andy Reid, but he's, not the first name that you'd bring up. I'd say Vince Lombardi might be the first one, and then, maybe Bill Parcells is just another name. Again, we start throwing names in the conversation. But I'm just seeing I'm just trying to picture if I was seeing a Sports Illustrated ranking somewhere. It was greatest head coaches of all time. We got the Sports Illustrated basketball's greatest book over there. So if we got the football version, I think maybe that, depending on the year those were, because that might have been released in I guess it was LeBron's on the Heat at that time. Or he's on the Heat in the basketball book. I guess he is in the Heat in the greatest book too. Maybe we'll have to open that up after this and see what's going on. Pause. But hey, yo, whoa. But I guess he's on the cover. He's on the cover in a Heat jersey right over there. Okay, we're just staring at Tim Duncan on the cover. It is what it is. So I think they were 2013. I guess we could also just Google it as well too. But it was 2013, 2014. So he did have 2 more Super Bowls maybe after Belichick. 2 more Super Bowls after this time, because they also did release, like we're saying, football versions of these books as well too. The football one's somewhere on a little bit of lower shelf. It is what it is. But for Belichick, he would have had a couple more resume building things still to have happen there. But you could have definitely seen a list at that point. That would have been him, and that would have been Lombardi 1 and Belichick 2 maybe. But, again, is the second greatest coach of all time, not a first ballot Hall of Famer. I guess the other part that we didn't check outside of, if they said specifically, is this the reason why Belichick didn't get kept, got kept out, didn't get invited into the Hall of Fame? The Hall's voting committee is composed mostly of veteran NFL reporters, but also includes football figures such as former general manager Bill Polian and former coach Tim Duncan, who are both Hall of Famers. Chet, hey, yo. Fortunately, we're able to speak on this very well. Bill Polian, general manager for the Colts. Tony Dungy, coach for the Colts. Both of them always losing to Belichick in the playoffs. It is what it is. Belichick just crushed Bill Polian's masterpiece team of the early 2000s Colts, which you go back and look at the early 2000s Colts drafts, it's Polian was on fire. Polian had, of course, Manning. I mean, he had Marvin Harrison before that. We're not going in order, but just in the guys that he ended up taking. Obviously comprised an offense of Manning, Harrison, Reggie Wayne, Edgerrin James, and Dallas Clark. Jeff Saturday on the offensive line. He drafted the pass rushers and Freeney and Mathis. He Bob Sanders. His team was insane. His team obviously won a Super Bowl in 07 and should have won a couple more. But again, hey yo, Bill Belichick. Hey yo, Tom Brady. So there is a good chance that Bill Belichick that Bill Polian and Tony Dungy, this is just revenge for the this might not even be the politics of, what you could assume it could be in 2025. This is not even like, hey, yo, finding out that, hey, Rem and Sam find out that Pablo Torre's on the voting body. Like, that's not necessarily what's happening here as well, too. It could just be that Bill Polian and Tony Dungy are salty. There is 50 guys on here, it was saying, so I don't know how many former Colts employees, how many people, I guess the entire league got, screwed over by Belichick for so many years. So we didn't, I guess, is that going to be an issue for Brady at this point? When is Brady up for the Hall of Fame? Is Brady not in the Hall of Fame yet? I guess it's only been, has it been 3 years since Brady's been retired? 4, so Brady's next year? I guess, is it 3 years that you can go up? We should see here for Brady, because Brady actually did leave the NFL a year before Belichick. So I guess, again, he should be in if it's the same timeline for coaches and players, because 2022 Tampa for Brady was his last season. But for Belichick, we had, 2023 Patriots was his last season. So I guess we could double check. Maybe that's the reason why are they just informing him ahead of time that, in a couple years, you're not actually going to be on the Hall of Fame. It doesn't matter what you do. But it said this year, Belichick was a Kraft with Belichick was a finalist with Robert Kraft, his fellow co-architect of the NFL dynasty for New England. It marked the first time Kraft, 84, was a Hall finalist after 14 years of campaigning on his behalf by his team's longtime PR man and other supporters. Kraft and Belichick have become bitter antagonists since parting ways in January 2024. Of course, we were talking about roast earlier. The roast of Tom Brady is the one time that they have actually been united and, together again since then. But it's unknown whether Kraft or any other finalist received necessary votes for induction. On January 13, voters met from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. to discuss and debate the qualifications of this year's finalists. Include 3. Okay, so is this the entire voting body here? So we've got, wait a second. I skipped ahead in the article there. Maybe it was going something that we were saying earlier. But it said, which also included 3 seniors, former Cincinnati Bengals quarterback Ken Anderson, former 49ers running back Roger Craig, and the late L.C. Greenwood. Oh, chat. Hey, yo. Rest in peace. And for former defensive end of the Pittsburgh Steelers. Multiple sources told ESPN that Spygate and Deflategate, the twin cheating scandals during the Patriots run, came up in the deliberations among the voters. A voter who spoke on conditions of anatomy, anonymous? Yeah, I think we're saying that right. Said that Polian, an ardent Kraft supporter and former general manager of the Buffalo Bills and Indianapolis Colts, literally the 2 biggest Patriots rivals. Hey, yo, Polian just single-handedly in the room like, we can't let this man be in the Hall of Fame. This man's been ruining the league for 25 years. So he told voters he believed Belichick should wait a year before being inducted as a penance for Spygate, the 2007 cheating scandal that cost the team a first-round pick. Commissioner Roger Goodell also fined the Patriots $500,000 and fined Belichick $250,000. The Polian did not immediately respond for requests to comment. The only explanation for the outcome was the cheating stuff, a veteran Hall voter told ESPN on Tuesday. It really bothered some of the guys. Hey, yo. So it really was the cheating. That is crazy. that is ultimately what is going to be the thing, I guess, that keeps him out, or that the wait a year campaign actually worked for Bill Polian. Jeez, we just like 12 angry men, but in reverse. Like, pause. Like, hey, well, hey, we might have to edit that out. I'm not exactly certain, but it's like the deliberations. But this, instead of actually, I guess, how does that movie go? That they start like they're all going to vote guilty, but then he gets them to vote not guilty. So they all walk in the room and they're like, obviously Bill Belichick's the greatest head coach of all time. He's gonna be in the Hall of Fame. And then Bill Polian walks in and he's like, actually, look at the evidence. Look at the evidence. There's no way that Bill Belichick should get in his first year. He should have to wait a year. I don't know. So I guess that's what I say. What do we say? Peter King, a 32-year Hall voter who is now retired from the committee, said, "Whoa, he's dropping crazy words, chat. Hey, yo, our guy Peter King, shout out. Very surprised that Belichick didn't get into the Hall of Fame. Are we in our Captain America bag over here, chat? Language for Peter King. It is what it is. Shout out. We're a family show. A lot of things happen in that room that are unexpected, and and of course this is big family show over here, and this is of course a big surprise to me. King said, is he talking about the unexpected things in the room or the way the voting for Belichick went? Hey yo, we got him, chat. There it is again. Shout out, family's welcome. But Kraft and Belichick vying for immortality in Canton against each other in the same year made this made even richer by their complicated, embittered relationship. After remarkable 24 years in England, the animosity has played out publicly since they parted ways on Gillette Stadium podium in 2024, and it's gotten even worse since Belichick took the coaching job in North Carolina, where he finished 4-8. Is in his inaugural season. And it's true, Kraft's Patriots under his first year. I guess we're not giving necessarily Kraft any credit for the rebuild in New England. I guess maybe because some of the decision making has maybe been delegated down a little bit more. But Kraft's Patriots under first year head coach Mike Vrabel will play Seattle, of course, in the Super Bowl on February 8th. For the second year, finalists in the coaches and contributor category, Belichick and Kraft are competing against 3 senior nominees. Because each voter can only select 3 finalists, multiple sources among the voters had predicted it was possible, maybe even probable, that Kraft could be elected but not Belichick, or vice versa. As for senior nominees, were Anderson, 4-time Pro Bowler for the Bengals. Oh, that was the nominees. I thought that was the voters. Wait a second. So the qualifications for this year's finalists, which included 3 seniors. Oh, so the seniors are the ones that... Oh, so that makes a little bit more sense. Oh, okay. Hey, yo. They're the ones that are probably the return nominees from the previous years. So L.C. Greenwood's got to be in. How's L.C. Greenwood not in the Hall of Fame already? Hey, yo, I could see Roger Craig and Kenny Anderson, having to wait a couple seasons because they were more maybe the strength of a couple years versus, again, like actual, like real, like decade-long, resumes or whatever like that. Hey, yo. Get a couple of those guys out of the way before, I guess. But for Belichick, he's obviously more in that category. It is what it is. As for the 3 seniors, Anderson, a 4-time Pro Bowler for the Bengals. So 4-time is pretty good. An NFL MVP, like, again, that's obviously, you're gotta get in the Hall of Fame at some point with those numbers, you would assume. Craig, who played most of his career for the Niners, is one of only 3 NFL players to amass 1,000 yards rushing and receiving in the same season. I agree. Put him in the Hall of Fame. Pause. We're all in. Green was a member of the Steelers' vaunted Steel Curtain defense that won 4 Super Bowls in the 70s. And, I'm pro for guys getting in the Hall of Fame. So, again, it's like, we have to remember, Belichick will be in the Hall of Fame. They're not saying that Belichick is never going to make the Hall of Fame. Or so, it's not Bill Belichick is banned from the Hall of Fame. It's Bill Belichick is, not a first ballot Hall of Famer. Which, like we're saying, is, still a big deal in the NFL, for sure. But, obviously at the end of the day, he is going to be, I guess he's got, a couple more months for Polian still got time to cook up more of the campaign. It is what it is. Belichick left New England with records that will be nearly impossible for any current or future coach to match. He won 17 division titles, the most by any coach, 9 conference championships, most by any coach, made 12 Super Bowls, including his time as an assistant in his 21 winning seasons. Trail only Hallis, 40. Hey, yo. Shula, 33. Curly Lambeau, 33. And Tom Landry, 29. George Hallis, 40 winning seasons. Tomlin's got to have a couple more years, I guess, to match that. It is what it is. I guess Hallis was he the owner of the team, so he couldn't really lose his job, I guess, as well too. Maybe they played less games, as well. Hey, yeah, I'm sure a lot of different things were going on back when Hallis was coaching the team as well. The 8 other semifinalists in the coaching category this year were Tom Coughlin, Mike Holmgren, Chuck Knox, Buddy Parker, Dan Reeves, Marty Schottenheimer, George Seifert, and Mike Shanahan. So I'm not. Chuck Knox was the first name that's stuck out, and I want to say that would have been the Steelers head coach Chuck Knox, but the Steelers head coach also from that Steel Curtain day is Chuck Noll, not Chuck Knox. So let's see, who is Chuck Knox? Hey yo, a classic Google search, I guess, these days. Shout out Rams head coach, the late Chuck Knox, R.I.P. passed away in 2018. Rams in Seattle in here, as part of the tenure. I don't know if he was ever able to win a Super Bowl. The Rams won the Super Bowl with Warner in the early 2000s, and Dick Vermeule, Ayo, was the head coach of that team. So, Chuck Knox doesn't have a Super Bowl. Again, the late Chuck Knox probably should have and like I've said before, I'm for, obviously just getting guys in the Hall of Fame. Let's just award guys and, recognize accomplishments. What's wrong with that? But also, I think it can be okay to prioritize recognizing those accomplishments while the people can, have those recognized. So if there was a situation where, and 3-time coach of the year, that's a pretty great resume, and you have 22-year run, 55%, 56% win percentage. So definitely deserving, of that recognition of being just, consistently one of the better teams in the league for basically 2 decades. But if there was a scenario, where it's and I guess, if there was timelines and stuff, then obviously you're going to, probably make moves or whatever. But I would be in favor of, I guess for anybody, it's a gamble, obviously. We're thankful for the time that we have, but, making the quote unquote safer concessions for making sure that guys do get to see them, get to see the Hall of Fame recognition while they actually can, which is, again, going back to sort of the argument of the whole Pete Rose thing, which is if he's ever going to be inducted into the Hall of Fame at some point, do we lift the ban while he's alive so that can happen while he is, around? But unfortunately, that was not something I guess was in the works and meant to be. So, I guess if it is to happen someday, maybe he is in the Hall of Fame right now as well too. Maybe they've already overturned it as well. Changed a lot of rules in baseball pretty quickly. It is what it is. But yeah, Chuck Knox never won a Super Bowl, so you can't imagine that he would again get ballot consideration over Bill Belichick. And there are, of course, going to be coaches retiring and more guys up every year. You get what, 3? It said 3 coaching and contributing finalists. So again, it's not like Chuck Knox is just going to eventually in 2 seasons going to be the only guy left as an eligible candidate. It's well, then he's in at that point. It's not like we're down to these guys and Bill Belichick. There will be new names entered into the mix as well too. Pauses, guys retire and careers end up and stuff. Mike Tomlin, like we're saying, Mike Tomlin, I guess, sits out a couple years. Is he just going to get nominated to be in the Hall of Fame at some point? But Mike Holmgren did win a Super Bowl in Green Bay, and he did make a Super Bowl in Seattle, I think, with Hasselbeck. So was he with Hasselbeck in Green Bay as well too? The Mike Holmgren, Matt Hasselbeck combo, of course, was a lethal one in the early 2000s. Yes, Super Bowl champions for Green Bay in 96. And then made the Super Bowl again in 97. That would have been against Denver, I believe. That would have been Elway's first ring there. So kind of forget about the back-to-back part of that Super Bowl run there. And the fact that they were in 2 Super Bowls in the 90s. And yeah, in the Super Bowl in 05 as well too. So 3 appearances and 1 win is obviously pretty, that Super Bowl level stuff there. 59% in the regular season as well too. So, obviously top notch in terms of the standings every year. Again, obviously we're saying Belichick's either like the first, second, or third greatest head coach of all time. Maybe Chuck Noll's another one you could say if you were making arguments. Would you make a Tom Landry argument? Tom Coughlin did get 2 wins over Belichick in Super Bowls. So maybe you would have to argue Tom Coughlin potentially would be over Belichick. Dan Reeves not being in the Hall of Fame is, I guess, a little surprising at this point. He's also a multi-time Super Bowl winner. So I feel like if you win multiple Super Bowls, hey, you got to kind of be in the Hall of Fame. It is what it is. And I think we're actually looking at Dan Reeves' player page here instead of his coaching page. 7 years as an executive, 27 years as a head coach in the NFL. 2-time AP Coach of the Year, 3-time UPI Coach of the Year for our guy Dan Reeves, and then was, I guess, coach of Denver. I didn't realize he was coaching Denver the entire run. I guess he didn't coach Denver in the 90s when they won the Super Bowl. Who was their coach? Oh, Shanahan, who was the other guy that was eligible. Hey, so the guy who built the Broncos run, and then the guy who, can we say, finished off the Broncos run? Hey, pause. But I guess also coached our guy Mike Vick in Atlanta there a couple seasons. I guess, unfortunately, 03, not necessarily off to the hottest start, but 3-time AFC champion, 4-time NFC. So Dan Reeves, I guess, not a multi-time Super Bowl. I take it back. 2-time Coach of the Year. I've been walking around all these years thinking Dan Reeves is a Hall of Fame head coach because he coached Mike Vick and John Elway. It turns out that is not the case. So, yeah, if Mike Shanahan, he gets the belt, I guess, pause. He gets to take Dan Reeves' spot that we thought he had. This is our journalistic integrity taking over here. He's the multi-time Super Bowl winner. No Coach of the Years, no other accolades to speak of. I guess if that were to mean anything, Dan Reeves better in that sense, better regular seasons more consistently maybe. But, Shanahan did have a couple of really crazy Terrell Davis seasons there, a couple of really crazy Terrell Davis playoff runs at the end of the 90s. 55% win percentage for his career. Yeah, 2 Super Bowls, 97, 98. Washington, okay at the end there. Obviously, one good year with RG3. Denver, 13 wins even in 2005. But I guess, if you're sprinkling in a 6-10 pause, and 8-8 and 9-7, 9-7, 7-9, are you a Hall of Fame? 20 years? Yeah, I guess, yeah. 2-time Super Bowl champion, like I said, you got to be a Hall of Fame head coach. We're over here saying we're for having guys be in the Hall of Fame. Easier than not. And he is Kyle Shanahan's dad, so, shout out to that as well, too. We do have to, I guess, give him credit for the coaching lineage. Hey, I don't know. So Shanahan's the only one from a Super Bowl standpoint that even has a case. I think did Seifert ever win a Super Bowl? Oh, I guess Coughlin. So Coughlin and then Shanahan, because Schottenheimer didn't, unfortunately, have the playoff success like that. And then we'd have to go double check Buddy Parker here and see what's going on with our guy Buddy Parker. Shout out. Is that like a 70s, 80s coach maybe? Maybe a little newer than that, if we can get a glance at when this career might have taken place. And 2-time NFL champ for Buddy Parker as well too. Is that as a player, as a coach? Oh, this is as a coach. 2-time NFL champ. Oh, Detroit, the 50s and the 60s. Hey, okay, so Buddy Parker has to be a lock. Okay, chat, I get it. The NFL first ballot is a crowded place, but yeah, see what I mean? Let's get Buddy Parker in the Hall of Fame. Shout out. He obviously, I guess if Buddy Parker's not going to see it now, then let's just get Tom Coughlin in the Hall of Fame. It is what it is. What it is. So Coughlin, Belichick, and Buddy Parker would be our 3. Hi, buddy. Hope you find your Hall of Fame spot. Hey, And then maybe, like Seifert and Shanahan and Holmgren next year. Did Seifert win 2 in San Francisco? Because if Seifert won 2 in San Francisco with a couple different quarterbacks, that is a pretty good case. I guess. 83 to 2001 is a good run. Yeah, two-time Super Bowl champ. Two-time Coach of the Year. Yeah, Seifert, he's got to be in. Pause. Hey, yo. Seifert's got to, that first year is obviously, that's close for sure. But, 14 and 2, 10 and 6, 14 and 2, 10 and 6, 13 and 3, takes over with Steve Young. I guess we can't necessarily speak to why the tenure ended, but Carolina 8 and 8, 7 and 9. I guess 1 and 15 in Carolina. Does anybody in the Hall of Fame have a 1-win season as a head coach? But who was on 2001 Carolina? Did they even have Steve Smith at this point? Anytime you're playing in I thought they said Jerry Richardson Stadium. I was merging this together. I was like, anytime you're playing in Jerry Richardson Stadium, I was like, that's you're gonna be 1 and 15. It is what it is. But maybe we have to bleep out the name as well too. It feels weird. It feels gross. Pause saying it. It is what it is. No shout out to that guy. But Chris Weinke, I guess was the quarterback. 11 touchdowns, 19 interceptions in 2001, and then Matt Lyle, the backup. So not necessarily like a crazy stacked room, but you did have Muhammad in there, and I guess you did have Steve Smith. The receiving core was starting to form, I guess, and the running back room that they were able to develop as well too. They had like the D'Angelo Williams, Jonathan Stewart combo was pretty deadly. So again, a lot of talent that was going to happen there, and they would be quickly, I guess, in the Super Bowl. You bring in Jake Delhomme, and then you're able to make the Super Bowl. Was that the next season they were in the Super Bowl, or 2 years, 2 or 3 years they're in the Super Bowl? So that might have been the quickest turnaround. Nobody ever. Oh, John Fox. Who did I say the head coach was? I forget. John Fox was the guy that was actually the guy that turned around. Shout out. So yeah, 2 seasons, 7 and 9, and then 11 and 5. The NFC champion. So is this like Ben Johnson for the Bears? Are the Bears gonna win the title, or win the NFC next year? Or I guess that's the Seahawks this year. That is the Seahawks this year with Mike McDonald. It is Sam Darnold, Jake Delhomme. Whoa. We were making, speaking of Hall of Fame cases, we're making Sam Darnold Hall of Fame cases in the last pod. And it's going to be funny when Sam Darnold does make the Hall of Fame in his first ballot. And, Belichick did not. It'll be funny, of course, to track all the guys throughout NFL history that made the first ballot. But Delhomme in 2003, 19 touchdowns, 16 interceptions. They made the Super Bowl. Rodney Peete getting in the mix a little bit, 4 for 10. Steven Davis was the running back, 1,400 yards, 8 touchdowns that year for him, making the Pro Bowl. Yeah, still no sign of D'Angelo Williams on the roster. It is what it is. But shout out our guy Delhomme. Shout out Sam Darnold for the run that he is on, turning his career back around, getting faith back in his game. But yeah, Seifert definitely has to be in consideration, but none over Belichick. And that means he has to be one of those 3 spots. It's not like he can take a player spot. It's not like you can have 4 coaches and whatever amount of players, I guess, is not how it can go. But we were talking as well too a couple live streams ago about maybe they should have some kind of rules where it is like a certain amount of offensive, a certain amount of defensive, and then a certain amount of coaching staff type of personnel in the Hall of Fame voting every year. And then we were making the case that if they do that, having one special team spot as well too, to, get kick returners and punters and things like that in the mix, because obviously they're super impactful in what they do over the course of the game. But I think even the same thing could be said for assistant coaches as well too. I mean, you could be an impactful contributor on, the game to a certain extent that you do have to be acknowledged for that in the Hall. That is, of course, undeniable, but the impact they do have season to season in terms of their teams actually winning. Like, now to bring the Chiefs back up for our guy Sam, Spags is like a type of guy where I think you could literally make the case, I think, that Spags could be in the Pro Football Hall of Fame as a defensive coordinator for how impactful he's been as a defensive coordinator. as I guess that would make sense. But you would have between this, of course, cheese run, the defense time and time again stepping up, and his ability to scheme up stops in that defense was, as evident as a coach's impact has ever been, I think, on a team in the 21st century. But he was also a part of, and I forgot this as well too, just being a younger kid when this happened, but I was going back and watching highlights for it recently, and I forgot that he was the defensive coordinator of the '07 Giants and that defense as well too. I think, there's definitely some Brady's performance stuff in that game that you go back and look at and like, hey, is that the case? Is that the other side of the case for Belichick making the Hall of Fame? Is Brady against the Giants in both those Super Bowls just, kind of didn't play well as well too. But, Spags was able to architecture that defense and, like a couple different franchises, a couple different iconic runs in regards to what he was able to do. And I think you could, like we're saying, if you wanted to have an assistant coach contributor or like a coaching staff coordinator contributor as well too, he would be a name to have entered into the mix. But the point would be, Belichick, I think even as a coordinator could have the case as well because of what his, speaking of the Giants, what his Giants defense was able to accomplish against that Bills team back in the day. And it's not like that Bills team had necessarily been to, it was not at their fourth Super Bowl and had won 3 the season before that. We look at that Bills team now going, oh, they couldn't even win the big game because they would go on to not win one, 0 for 4, obviously, in the upcoming round. But regardless, he was still able to really shift what had been a dominant team and was able to have a historic sort of schematic performance as a coordinator that I think you could nominate that performance as well too. It'd be different to nominate and induct like Bill Belichick as the best or just as like an offensive coordinator, because then what does that mean? Does it mean he could also still get inducted as a head coach? But if yes, then yes. Like, hey, he can still make the Hall of Fame as a first ballot guy, but he's going to make the Hall of Fame twice, I guess, down the road. It is what it is. But, I mean, yeah, you see the names that we had on the list here. With all due respect, like we're saying, definitely everybody is worthy of being in the Hall of Fame, but there is nobody that you would put into the Hall of Fame over Kraft, as good, or over Robert Kraft, maybe, but over Bill Belichick, as good as these other coaches have been. Again, Tom Coughlin, the only guy because he has 2 wins, I guess, over Belichick. But Mike Holmgren, Chuck Knox, Buddy Parker, Dan Reeves, Marty Schottenheimer, George Seifert, and Mike Shanahan, you're just not doing it. And, maybe you're going to get into arguments about would you rather build your team around Shanahan or Bill Belichick or things like that. But no, I don't think it's really worth overthinking any of that stuff and, getting too crazy with it. Just be like Belichick. In theory, Belichick's the guy 9 times out of 10. It is what it is. But falling this year, that means that the other 3 head coach favorites will likely need at least a year for their turn. Shanahan, Coughlin, and last year's coaching finalists who fell short, Holmgren. So it's going to be Shanahan, Coughlin, and Holmgren as the 3 guys this year. And then next year it'll be Knox, Parker, and Reeves. And then it'll be Schottenheimer, Seifert, and Belichick. Hey, yo. See, I don't know. Belichick, Coughlin, and Holmgren is a little bit better of a class, maybe. I'm not sure. It pushes all 3 of these coaches back here. King said you have to ask yourself, what does the coaches committee do next year? Are they going to again advance Belichick? Wouldn't it be embarrassing if they don't? The decision has major impact beyond just 1 year. So I guess Peter King, shout out, it's a very important decision whether or not they induct Bill Belichick into the Hall of Fame this year or not. But it is a little bit. It is definitely, it definitely speaks, and obviously, now we're seeing the results of it. So yes, it does speak to this, but it shows that, people I think are looking, of course, for ways to discredit what he has done. I guess Bill Polian is looking for, this really does just show that Bill Polian is a petty man and can get his way in an owner's meeting or in a Hall of Fame meeting. It is what it is. Shout out. I'm sure the pettiness has allowed him to build great competitive teams in the past, but hey, I guess at the end of the day, arguably the greatest head coach in football has to be in the first ballot as well. How did we not mention Bill Walsh? We didn't mention Bill Walsh. We should have mentioned Bill Walsh. Bill Walsh is the other guy that you can, again, but how many guys can you undeniably or have in the argument, I guess, above Belichick and maybe would be the sort of, okay, if this guy was over Belichick, then I guess I can't argue it. It's more preference. Walsh, Lombardi, and that might be the list. And Buddy Parker, maybe just, what's the phrase? Level of competition, era of competition. Do we have to go back and check his records in his 50s runs with the Lions there? But here, let's see even the coaching leaders as well too by wins in this stat, because he might not exactly be the number one, and I don't know if he ended up with the number one career wins all time, like total number, or if there's a percentage thing in there as well too. Let's see, safeties, sacks, fumbles, punts. Oh well, we might not have our coaching numbers available. Oh, unfortunate. It is what it is. But yeah, shout out to Bill Belichick. We know he's going to get in the Hall of Fame one day. We know he's actually deserving and definitely, is headed that direction. Pause. But as of right now, he will have to, I guess, be a little bit patient. He will have to, according to Bill Polian, wait a year because personal things, I guess, have to be settled. It is what it is. So the non-Colt or the Colts fan, the non-Belichick fan, the Colts fan didn't expect to be on here saying the guy that eliminated us from the playoffs every year besides the Chargers should be in the playoffs should be in the Hall of Fame in the first opportunity that he gets. But you do have to give him credit where credit is due. And New England's the most iconic dynasty of the 21st century, and he was the quarterback of that. And if you have to argue between Belichick, Kraft, and Brady in the Hall of Fame in the same year, or if it's just, Kraft and Belichick, then it shouldn't be an argument. Both of them are in the Hall of Fame. With the respect to anybody else getting inducted into the Hall of Fame, find a different guy. Find a different guy to not have in besides Belichick and Kraft, because both of them, again, they kind of just have to be in for their contributions to the league at this point. But yeah, shout out to Belichick. Shout out. It's a good thing it is to things that are on the football field though as well. Like there is obviously a full version of the story where it's just like voters are petty in a different way and a little bit obviously maybe the judgmental, I don't know if jealousy is the right word, but again, there's a real a stigma part of the voting thing that would have just been like, okay, like what are we, what's this angle going on here? But it doesn't really seem like that is too much the case at this point. But Philly versus Milwaukee is close. I mean, we've got the Pelicans versus the Thunder kind of close. So, the NBA is in good effect here on a Tuesday night. We'll continue to follow along. And maybe Bill Belichick's tuned in right now thinking, hey, these guys understand. I did all right for myself. Bill Belichick, if you're tuned in, you did all right for yourself. Shout out. You should be proud of your accomplishments. And your status in the Hall of Fame is not a reflection of your accomplishments. It is what it is. So we'll be right back after this break with more on the REMINGTOM Pod. All right, Chad, shout out to this Philly versus Milwaukee game. It is all offense through 3 quarters. Philly's already at 102 points through 3 out of 4 quarters. I guess 3 out of 4 quarters. It's quarters. 3 quarters of action. I guess Milwaukee's not going to get to 100, but they could get to 95, 96 if they get this last end of quarter bucket here. Cole Anthony dribbling down the shot clock, dribbling down the quarter. George looking good. Embiid playing good lately. Embiid for Giannis, is that a trade that would actually happen? Hey, yo, we've got highlights firing up here. Shout out to Iguodala. I mean, I'm sure it's all fascinating stuff. But do we need to head to the trade machine for our weekly Giannis trade machine buzz and see what we can cook up over there? Portland has been the victim for a couple of our trade machine sessions. I don't know if we go there for a Giannis trade. It would seem a little bit of a weird fit. Not necessarily the first thing that you would think of. Oh, chat. Hey, yo. Bloody nose break on the Rem and Sam pod. Oh, chat. This is not evidence of behind the scenes activities. This is just the fact that it's like 2 degrees outside. Hey, yo. It's dry weather. Okay, we'll be right back, chat. Give us a second. We just gotta take a time out. All right, we're back. We should be all fixed up and good to go. We're not trying to be a walking Clips lyric, but, you know, hey, yo, the weather hits. It is what it is. I guess, you know, we could say, is it? I guess if we're saying it's the snow, that's not really, you know, helping our cause any as well. Were we trying to trade Giannis to the Blazers? Is that the sign that maybe that is the sign that we were, you know, on something crazy? I don't know, but they do have a good collection of. I guess we have looked at that Shaden Sharp contract in the past. It is on that poison pill, so that is going to be a bit of a tricky situation this year with a bunch of those poison pill contracts in terms of giving those out. Pause. I did cook up a jaw trade the other day at the restaurant. I don't know what I was thinking. I just was like, let me hit the trade machine real quick. Slow start to the day. Let me see who will take jaw. It was pretty good. Hey, yo, I feel like maybe we didn't mention that live on the stream. Did we not? Did we? I guess maybe we just don't remember at this point. It is what it is. But there was, of course, a rumor that the trade market for Ja, I mean, it hasn't been a rumor at this point. It's been a little bit of a difficulty to find what the potential trade would be. Is there a landing spot? And it could be attributed, to some of the activity that Ja has been, whatever, blah, blah, blah. But there is some injury risks as well, too, with trading for Ja that would deter a bunch of teams away from just acquiring an injury risk as well. Obviously, again, they're like we're saying, are they just using that as a talking point? Maybe. But at the end of the day, maybe on the other side of that, there would just be that blank slate of, Michael Porter. I guess Michael Porter, I don't know, maybe something about injury risk and risk in general. But, Michael Porter Jr. would have been another one that maybe just teams would have been against drafting, against trading for whatever, against signing in free agency because of whatever, injury risk, health problem, potential things might have been, might have been a cause for concern there already. But it wasn't Jalen Green for Ja Morant, was it? I think that could potentially work. Jalen Green is returning from his injury at this point, so I think it could work from a contract standpoint is what I was meaning when I was saying that quickly there, because Ja Morant 3 years 39.4, Jalen Green 3 years 33.5. So with the salary cap space, I mean, it'd be an interesting sell either way, because there is, again, sort of a baseline. Like maybe Jalen Green could still be like a 6-man, 12, 13 point a game scorer. That version of Jalen Green is maybe better than a 13 point a game Ja Morant. I don't know, but it could just be a straight 1-for-1. It's not bad, again, in terms of the player value. I guess the equal player value. Hey, that's what a trade is. But in terms of the 1-for-1ness of what you can do in the second apron era, that is not actually bad. That is a viable option both ways. Where, again, you definitely are committing to a different thing. If you're Phoenix, I guess you don't have to definitely just bench Booker now. All of a sudden it's Ja Morant's team. But maybe you do lose, like we're saying, the safety net of a sort of reliable wing-ish role type player potentially who could even be more offensively if he continues to develop in this offense. But Memphis, of course, on the other side, gets that sort of safety wing element, fits in. And to be honest, Jalen Green and Memphis, again, if he goes into what's he right now, 15 a game? If he's scoring 14, 15 points a game and just kind of playing off of some of these other creators, again, you don't necessarily have a main on-ball guy per se. I guess Ty Jerome, I don't know, Conchar, but him and Cedric Coward, there's something about Jalen Green, Cedric Coward, Jaren Jackson, Santi Aldama, that might be like a 48-win team at some point. I'm not sure, but that was I guess maybe one potential Ja Morant trade. It was I remember it being a 2-for-2. Did I screenshot it? Hey, no, I think maybe because I cooked it up on the work iPad as well too. So I should have left the tab open. I don't think it was the Pacers. I just accidentally fat fingered that and clicked on him there. So no Ja for Siakam, probably not an option. I don't think it was Ja for Van Fleet or something along those lines. Was it Ja for... Oh, it might have been Ja for Davis. It might have... No, Davis too expensive. That's what... It wasn't that. Because it would have had to have been Ja and, I guess, Brandon Clark for Davis. Maybe there is something to that, but, Davis and Jaren Jackson is, in theory a fun combo, but I don't think I don't think it's going to work. Oh, bummer, Chad. Hey, yo, the lost Ja Morant trade. It is what it is. But did we trade Giannis to Toronto yet at this point? I know we theorized it. But the fact that now Toronto has emerged out as third in the East, and the Knicks, they had that slide earlier, or, over this recent stretch here in the season. It's been an inconsistent time for them in January. And there is still a level of playoff certainty that maybe we do give them, but even when they were the 2 seed, it was still like, okay, I guess maybe they are the best team in the East, but it's just like we still have to like see the rest of it play out at this point. So it's like, are the Raptors just an equal team right now to the Knicks? Like it may seem like that. Again, I could see still 6 or 7 games. New York's probably going to win that series. It is what it is. At this point, that's just the easy way to pick it. But yeah, the Raptors, like we're saying, maybe they're more primed for something crazy if they want to go back to like the Kawhi Leonard route of trading for a short-term superstar. But of course, they would be getting Giannis on a 3-year deal with maybe more flexibility compared to, like we're saying, having Kawhi on just the 1 season when they won the title there. So I think it would have to be Scotty Barnes back in the trade the other way. I mean, I guess Scotty Barnes and Brandon Ingram is going to be about 70 mil, so that might be too much. It might actually have to be a 2 for 2 if that were the case. But Scotty Barnes, Giannis, 38 to 54 million. So it gets you pretty close. And then Abaji is an expiring $6.3 million. Might be a potential okay option for getting tossed into the trade potentially. So they do, if because I think we brought the Raptors in. Maybe it was Raptors for Ja or something like that. Raptors for LaMelo. I don't remember, or maybe it was for Giannis and we just weren't cooking before. I don't know. Maybe we weren't as vibing with the Scotty Barnes for Giannis type trade. But right now, I'm thinking that's honestly not too bad. And again, you can have flexibility here with Abaji. I don't know if you're thinking the Raptors now. You're like, okay, now we don't have to make a decision in the off season as well, and do some kind of re-sign there. Of course, you would be thinking at this point as the 3 seed. I guess you're gonna be building around Giannis. After that, would you go Pirtle in the trade? Pirtle and Scotty Barnes, of course, Turner's one of the more, like we're saying, win now type players. So I don't know, would he fit your tanking goals? Is he just kind of a nice, valuable asset to have, like kind of best value type guy? Or you have to go Murphy Boyle? I guess we're kind of we're treating Giannis like, whoa, hey, yo, Giannis is still our guy. You got to still get maximum value. And Murphy Boyles only gets you to 44 out of the 54 million. I guess that's okay. Murphy Boyles and Grady Dick and Abaji. But then who's left for Giannis to play with? Him and Brandon Ingram, Quickly, RJ Barrett. So Quickly, Scotty Barnes, and Murphy Boyles is the trade. Wait, were we throwing in Murphy Boyles over? Yeah, I guess it's gotta be him over Abaji, over Dick, over Pirtle, over Barrett. So Barrett and Scotty Barnes for Giannis, is that enough? Can you do just those two guys for Giannis? Like legitimately, I guess 66 and 54. So maybe it's too much here. Let's see if Toronto's able to pulls out. Pause. You can do this. Pause. And the Raptors, it says they're 5 wins better. I mean, hey yo, you're bringing in Giannis on a pretty easy 2 for 3. But if you're Milwaukee, I mean, I guess you're gonna try to get as much as possible. I'm just saying, if you're Toronto, is there a world that this is as little as you could realistically give up for Giannis? Is this the bare minimum that you could realistically see have happening? I mean, again, at 31, I guess you're still going to need some future picks. So they've got an unprotected Lakers second. Okay, that's something. And I guess they're, 3 seed right now going for a title. So they're 2026 first. They can probably give that away, okay, to Milwaukee. Maybe Milwaukee doesn't even want that one. Maybe they're just like, hey, just keep that. We'll take the the 2027? And then do they also have to trade, Barnes and Barrett, again, two pretty good players. So do you also have to trade out the 2030 first round pick and protect that? I don't know. Barnes, Barrett, and 2 firsts for Giannis? That's pretty close, honestly. That is pretty close. And then you go, Giannis has Quickly as his second best player on his team. He's got Pirtle as a center. He's got Pirtle, Quickly, Brandon Ingram, Murphy Boyles, like we're saying, Abaji, Grady Dick, Mamushvili is on this team as well too. Honestly, Mamushvili can be like a 3 or a 4, whatever you need as in the front court. He's just a front court player. Like Giannis can just be a front court player. So you got Giannis, Mamushvili, and Brandon Ingram with Quickly and Abaji in the backcourt. Honestly, you might be able to play like a really, really athletic long lineup. Pause. Could you go Giannis? You could go Antetokounmpo and Mamushvili, both of them. Giannis, Antetokounmpo, and Sandro Mamushvili in the same lineup at the same time. Ochai Abaji and Jakob Pertl and Brandon Ingram, and then Murphy Boyles. The defense athleticism switching there would be crazy. Is that enough guys? What did I say? Murphy Boyles, Giannis, Ingram, Pirtle, and then Mamushvili. Those 5 are, we sub Pirtle out for Quickly 6'3". Maybe we get the little guard help though. Pirtle out for Abaji, maybe. Temple, Battle, Sheed. I guess not. Maybe they could use like one more depth piece if they were making a title run. I don't know if they're a waiver wire or a signing option that they could make maybe one more smaller trade. But I think this is pretty realistic, honestly. Barrett and Barnes and 2 firsts. Like, both of those guys are, again, 24, 25. So future could be there for 5-6 more years for sure. Hey, that's not a lot, but, could be there for 6, 7, 8 more years potentially. If, you're able to keep them around happy enough. You can maybe tank out the rest of the season. You can play the middle of the pack, just kind of depending on what happens. You can just, I guess play the results of the vibe of the roster. And if you lose and start tanking, it's okay because you get a high pick. And if you win, then you're like, hey, maybe we have some success, actually found success, some weird Giannis Ewing theory with this trade that we can make. But hey, we're pro Scotty Barnes on this pod. It is what it is. So, him as, again, the centerpiece of a Giannis trade. And I'm not saying you're in a sell low phase with Giannis at this point. So again, I think maybe it could just be a wait till summer, let some of the contracts, the poison, let some of the different contract restrictions free up, and you'll just have more different options potentially in the summer to work with, more time, less pressure to have windows to get stuff done. But again, this is that type of trade where maybe you're thinking, Barrett and Barnes as individual players maybe aren't the highest overall players you would trade for Giannis, but again, the kind of collective of it together could make a little bit of sense. You would have Barrett, Barnes, and Rollins. Rollins is 23, so that's 3 guys right there. That's like, okay, something to have on the roster. Rollins is $4 million a year right now for 3 years. So you would have Turner and Kuzma and Porter Jr. I guess it would keep you in a little bit of a weird salary cap spot as well. So, there could be the potential that you just go all younger players and expirings and picks to try to reset the books in the future, and then give you more incentive to sell off the rest of the parts as well too. That could look better for the fan base. But I'm kind of a fan of this trade either way, to be honest. This is one of the first, I really do like this trade all the way around, because, the OKC trades that we were throwing out in the summer, potentially if Chet becomes when his extension kicks in, we're just talking about his contract there. But when that goes into effect this summer, that would be like we've said before, time and time again, a really interesting trade partner. But it would be a bummer to see Giannis potentially go to the Thunder. I mean, there would be the Ewing theory or the other side of it where it's like, I don't know, the young core of those guys sticking together is actually the right thing. But it's like, I feel like you might win the title if you get Giannis and Shea together for a season or two and Jalen Williams in there as well. But the idea of, again, Giannis having to compete directly with the Spurs on the Thunder is terrifying. But him in Toronto, he's literally, I guess, if we say he's in a different country, cancel us now. But in terms of keeping him away from San Antonio, keeping him away from the Spurs, as far into a playoff run as possible, it wouldn't necessarily happen in Toronto. Obviously, it would have to be meeting in the finals when that would be an issue. I mean, same with Milwaukee, but, we love him in Milwaukee right now. He's no quote unquote threat to San Antonio, Milwaukee. Again, though he's a threat when they play in the regular season, and if they were to match him in the finals, it would be terrifying. But there's just a small window of the season where they would, again, a super important window, and you would have to be potentially matched up for him. But in terms of the bulk of the playoffs, you have to be more prepared for the Western Conference, and there is always that potential that the Bucks just get eliminated beforehand as well too, which is pretty realistic. I still don't know why there's like a 0.5% of me that thinks that Giannis and Jokic could still end up playing together. Like, what's just is that the modern day LeBron and Wade situation? I guess both the guys in their 30s. Hey, yo, would you do Murray and Gordon for Giannis and Rollins? That might be too much. Giannis and Trent, maybe, at that point. Murray and Gordon. I mean, they can hold the fort without Jokic for now. So they're the 3 seed in the Western Conference. They're still managing to do okay. Turns out, again, Murray, really solid point guard. For sure, the depth has definitely been much appreciated in the absence of their best player. But yeah, I don't think that would be probably the most viable trade candidate. So Toronto it is. Hey, yo, I'm not even really looking at the rest of the roster at this point. Again, we could cook up the Portland trade, I guess, just to do it. Pause. I guess for some reason I don't actually see him going to Portland, though. I could see him going to Toronto, even though it is different management, even than that traded for Kawhi, if I'm not mistaken. Is Masai still there? He moved on, right? Hey, yo. Pretty sure. IT, double check that. But it does seem like, again, the lineage of something that they would actually do compared to Toronto or Portland seeming like it investing in a little, like would Portland bring in Miles Turner or Kuzma or Kevin Porter Jr. or one of those guys? I'm not sure, but it seems like they would, of course, bring in more of a high mid-tier wing compared to an elite front court player like Giannis. So maybe, I don't know, Portis. Yeah, Portis would be a really good Portland Trailblazer. Bobby Portis for like $21 million a year would be great. But you've got Holiday, of course, at $32 million, a veteran. I mean, Jeremy Grant, we may have thrown that one out before. It does get you a decent amount of the salary in return and a decent amount of the production instantaneously. So if you do Scoot, who did we had Scoot and who else paired up together? I forget who we did this trade before. Jeremy Grant and Scoot. Oh, for LaMelo and maybe like maybe Miles Bridges, something along those lines. Scoot and Jeremy Grant at $42 million of Giannis's $54. So a 3-for-1. Does that take off the picks a little bit? Pause. You go Chris Murray next. This is where it might have to be Chris Murray. Oh, Yang. This is where you could get Yang or Klingon. Imagine. Okay. So it's gonna be the red. It's gonna be the red and the red and silver, the red and gray that'll be trading for our guy Giannis this offseason, or this in-season type move, because I do like the idea of getting Klingon or Yang back as well too. I don't think Yang has quite lit up the NBA courts early on like he had the summer league courts, but Klingon is just gonna be continue to be a really productive, double defensive center, maybe a Steven Adams. I don't, is he Steven Adams light at this point? But he can definitely be in that Steven Adams-esque lane of impact and of type of player. So I do really like his upside there and what he can bring defensively. Like we're saying, Yang's just a fun watch for sure. Clinging a little bit more on the salary, so he might be forced to do that, honestly, just to make it a little bit more even at this point. Our guy Sissoko, Kamara as well too. Ooh, it actually Kamara could be a franchise. That could be another sneaky franchise piece. If the Bucks are locked in, if you're locked in, you could get Kamara in a Giannis trade. Could you honestly? I don't know. Could you get Scoot and Kamara? It might be too much. I think it might be too much. Jeremy Grant and Kamara is 34 of 54 million. So at 20, Robert Williams at $13 million expiring. Uh-oh. We're cooking now, chat. We are cooking now. Giannis is going to start packing the bags, Giannis. Hey, yo, what do we mean? It means we have a favorable trade destination for you in 2026. Oh, so close. So close. The salaries are just going to be a little bit off at this point. Oh, it's Kamara. It's not the salaries. The salaries are actually perfect. Kamara is not tradable because of his 6 month. Is not traded because 6 months have not passed since he's signed his extension. So he will be eligible. He will be eligible to be traded after April 19th of 2026. That's another deal breaker. I think that's another deal breaker. The playoffs should be started by then. Middle to end of April. Milwaukee would have 17 players under contract and would have to well, they need to waive 2 players. Oh yeah, because they're getting, but if they're doing this in April potentially, or if they're doing this down the line, I guess the Blazers would be in the playoffs and not Milwaukee. Hey yo, who would have thought Milwaukee would have to be the one waiting on the Blazers to be doing this trade in the offseason? But that would be the case. But I mean, at this point, you would have. Do you have expirings? You have Jericho Sims on a minimum deal. AJ Green receives Amir Coffey. Ooh, Amir Coffey. Jericho Sims might, unfortunately. I guess if you're trading, you throw Thanasis in the trade. Hey, yo, there you go. Thanasis in the trade for contract purposes, but also, again, roster mobility purposes. You get to give up a roster spot here. So then you only have to waive 1 player. So then you just, I guess, shout out our guy Jericho Sims. Hey, yo. He's getting waived. Pete Nance as well. Alex Antetokounmpo, can you trade him on a 2-way deal? I don't know if that counts. Here, we'll see if that means anything to the greater course of the roster. Failed again because Kamara cannot be signed. But nobody has to be waived, though. Teams may at most have 3 2-way contracts on the roster. So I guess the Blazers will have to waive a two-way contract guy. Hey, yo. Javonte Cook or Caleb Love? Uh-oh. Javonte Cook. We hate to take a guy off pause. But Cook can get traded back in the trade as well, too. Because now the Bucks need a second 2-way guy. So here we go. I don't know if these last details need to be in the trade. Alex Antetokounmpo's on a 2-way roster. Milwaukee. Hey, I see. Now we're just like going back and forth. Pause. It doesn't even matter at this point. But the Blazers are a fun destination here. This is definitely a pretty I guess it does put a lot of stock in Kamara here. Let's reset this. Hey, yo. Now we just literally are just, Giannis trade machine. It is what it is. But it would definitely, again, put a lot of stock in Kamara as the centerpiece of a trade. Because Jeremy Grant is fine for sure. Like, Jeremy Grant, 20 points a game. Really decent production, can hold the fort down while you decide what, pause direction, I guess you want to go. Like, again, the team he's on right now is the 9 seed. So, hey, yo, you bring in Giannis for Jeremy Grant. It is one of those things, like, the vibes just get better, and the Bucks might start winning more games just because they are, again, having a better sort of, I guess, attitude as a team. It is what it is. There's just a more collective, cohesive version of basketball happening in that roster after they trade Giannis. Then that can't be underestimated, and them jumping up a couple of spots if they were able to sign or trade for a guy like this that could potentially, give you that instant production. I guess they are a couple of games back at this point, so it is 18 games back. They're 18 wins on the season to Atlanta in the 10 seed. The last play-in team at this point is 22-25, 23 wins for Chicago as the 9 seed is right there as well too. So it is a little bit of a range at this point between them and the play-ins, but again, Ayo, just sort of the good vibes of the season, and they want to recommit and get equal to a little bit instantly better with a trade like this, then it would be interesting. Would you get instantly better? You would have Durant, and again, Kamara, good right now. All NBA, like Kamara is an all NBA level defender. I guess if we're saying that correctly. He's an all defensive, all defensive level defender in the NBA. Like literally was second team all defense last year. So I know those teams don't get the respect of the all NBA teams, but again, guys that make those teams, that is like an elite skill, obviously, that the guys do really, really possess. So we know that he is going to be able to provide that, and he does provide a little bit of secondary playmaking as well too. I guess, once again, we're not good at remembering to throw in picks in the trade machine. Hey, don't make us an actual GM. We'll never remember to ask for a pick. It is what it is. But Portland, no pick in 26. 27, they have 1. 28. Oh, they do have Milwaukee picks in 28 as well, too. So you could trade a swap right back. Orlando, they have Orlando's 2028 first, no protections. So you could go those 2 picks plus Kamara and Jeremy Grant and the 30 Milwaukee swap rights. Portland has rights to swap its 2030 pick for Milwaukee's 2030 pick. And then a 2030 New York second. No protections, if that would be, top of the second, I guess, maybe, in 2030. So maybe you go one more player. I don't know, because, again, you get Thanasis in the deal, so you could go a 2 for... Oh, is this... And then you get the center. So Kumara, Jeremy Grant, and Klingon? Ooh, that's a haul, chat. That might be too much, honestly, from a roster standpoint. Is that too many players? Is Portland doing this trade? Pause. And then you're getting Giannis and Thanasis back in the deal. I mean, obviously, if Thanasis is being thrown in, then any trade at this point is a yes, just for the energy that he would bring alone. But is this a move that they would be happy about at this point? Feeling like it could turn the table a little bit. But you're going to get, again, a boost in the front court. Not a boost, but you're going to be able to still have front court minutes and Klingon and even Kamara as well, too, playing a little bit of forward, and Jeremy Grant. So kind of everything that Giannis could do between 3 people, and then you have Miles Turner. So you could definitely play like a Turner, Klingon, Turner, Kamara, Grant. Imagine, speaking of big lineups, pause. Those 4 guys together would be insane. And then Kuzma as well, too, as the guard. Rollins as your guard. Rollins as your point guard. Jeremy Grant is your shooting guard. Maybe Kamara is honestly your shooting guard in this situation. He's kind of more of a secondary guard, ball handler type at times. So you would go our guy Ryan Rollins, Chris Murray as well, too. We can't forget about him. I guess if they were to maybe think about getting him involved in the trade, could be bringing in another wing back as well, too. But you could go, like we were saying, who is the guy? Rollins. Rollins is your guard. Rollins, Kamara, Grant, Miles Turner, and then Klingon as like a 5-man rotation for 2025 playoff run is obviously potentially pretty scary. Yeah, Chris Murray sitting there, pause, at $3 million a year as well, too. So Kamara, Grant, and Klingon. And let's see if this works even outside of the fact that Kamara has his trade restrictions. Oh, it can't work. $12 million from the Blazers incoming trade value. Okay, so we are a little bit off on the numbers. That is okay. Nothing a little touch up can't fix. It is what it is. It's not like in real life, they make the first proposal. Do you think Nico Harrison offered Anthony Davis right away? No, Pelinka had to bargain. He had to barter and fight and work to get Anthony Davis. It is what it is. So cut $12 million. That's Advia's salary. Oh no, that's going to be a risky amount in this trade. So yeah, this is gonna tend to be. Oh, our guy Robert Williams was the other trade. Kamara, Klingon, Grant, and Robert Williams. This is a fat trade. You might only need 2 picks back as well. The players are covering a lot of ground there. Oh, more failed. It is what it is. Salaries work, though. Okay, salaries work. It's just this trade would have to be done on April 20th. Would have to be. Hey, yo, if that's the right way to say it, I don't know. But Blazers definitely getting better. 3 wins better. Giannis and Drew Holiday reunited in Portland. Somehow Portland just rebuilding the Milwaukee Bucks championship team on their roster in 2025. Maybe it is actually a smart idea. Maybe you could go out and acquire Middleton from the Wizards at that point. But you would have both of those guys back together in this trade scenario, which would be fine. But again, Kamara and Klingon are legitimate building block pieces that I think you could, very much have in the midst of some kind of franchise rebuild. Oh, the Pelicans are in a skirmish with the Thunder. Hey, yo, our guy Missy is trying to hold somebody back at this point. We got people in a locked up in a fight. I don't know who it is. It's Chet and somebody. Is it 2 Thunder players? Is it 2 Pelicans players? Obviously, teams trying to throw what they've got every single night. Okay, what do you guys mean? Okay, they're just, I guess the interview guy is just interviewing about the game, not mentioning the fight or the tussle, I guess, of what happened. Because I just saw somebody kind of like pull Chet away from the pile, and he just looked kind of stunned. So I guess we'll have to go back and, update that and see what's going on there. But yeah, again, this is a real trade. The Raptors trade does feel a little bit more attainable with the 2-player, 2-pick sort of situation. Again, I don't think you really had to cut anybody from rosters there, so that's helpful. And then, just even visualizing future assets obviously is, obviously going to be, better than not for these trade scenarios. But yeah, those type of the mid-tier market teams. Maybe, obviously, Giannis a mid-tier market MVP as it is in 2025. But maybe don't count out that it could be one of those teams still as well, if it is the next trade destination. Again, the New York Knicks have been rumored for so long. Hey, yo, we saw a YouTube short scrolling through about Simmons, our guy Bill Simmons, proposing a trade of Giannis for Luka Doncic. Which is like, okay, just go ahead and stay on Netflix. It is what it is. But, if it's going to be one of those big market teams, it just doesn't quite seem like the assets are there to be able to acquire him. I mean, anybody could compromise at the end of the day as well. But, yeah, I do kind of like the 2 that we have cooked up here so far. It was definitely the most encouraging, or the some of the best packages, that we have seen so far. I guess we didn't do an Advia trade as well, too. Again, though, Advia is a little bit more of a win now guy. Minnesota, is there any possibility of Giannis and Anthony Edwards playing together in 2025, 2026? Randall at $30 million. They can aggregate because they are in the second April, which is sneaky. I mean, would you just say screw it? Would you just go all in and go Randall and McDaniels for Giannis? I mean, is Giannis 2 times better than Randall and 2 times better than McDaniels? Does that equal a better roster scenario? They are about equal on salary, so you might be able to make it work there. Oh, the Timberwolves are 2 wins better with Giannis than they are with Julius Randle and Jaden McDaniels. Hey, yo. We haven't considered Minnesota yet as a potential Giannis destination. And, there's been all this dialogue about would he go play with, earlier, would he play with Wemby? Would he join the young superstar that way? What would that look like? But you could get all those things obviously paused with Anthony Edwards as your potential teammate as well, too. And maybe even a little bit less of the shine. Dillingham, do you take Dillingham back as just a swing? Because I guess they got some picks. San Antonio holds rights to swap in 26. And then they don't really have anything in 27. 28 first. 29, San Antonio holds the rights to swap. So again, a little compromised on picks. But those are two guys that could in their own right almost be on all-star teams. Hey, yo. 2 almost all-stars for Giannis, I guess was our Raptors trade kind of like that? We did have what? Was it Barrett in Barnes? Because Barnes can definitely be an almost all-star. Was it Quickly in Barnes? It probably was 2 almost all-stars. Unfortunately, it is what it is. We'll do our best to see what we can cook up before then. But, yeah, this is a good player value trade as well, too. Randall and McDaniels. I guess, Randall, the long-term viability of that compared to maybe Daniels, just a wing asset. Trade him 2 years from now if you need to, or like we're saying, he's a building block. Definitely works. I mean, him in expanded role to offense pause would definitely be fun to see as well, too, because you wouldn't have that Anthony Edwards, sort of shadow cast over everything. You had the Miles Turner, I guess, minutes you'd have to worry about as your potential pick and roll threat there. Ryan Rollins getting you set up. So Rollins and Jaden McDaniel would be the duo for 2025. Oh, Terrence Shannon. We forgot about Terrence Shannon. I don't know if it has to be a 2-for-2, but do you need the depth if you're Minnesota? Or this, I guess, a 3-for-1. Hey, yo, definitely not a 2-for-2. But we do like Terrence Shannon Jr. Is Terrence Shannon Jr. enough to skirt around Randall in this trade? Would you go Naz Reid, Jaden Daniels, and Terrence Shannon Jr.? That might honestly be a more difficult trade as well, too. Conley, Shannon, and Daniels, Jaden Daniels, that is definitely starting to get into a little bit more of the realistic territory, it feels like. Conley is, again, the name value, McDaniels and Randall, definitely seems like that is more what you have to give up, but, we don't actually want to give up McDaniels. Ayo. As much as we want him to, I guess, be able to do whatever. It is still, I think, going to be interesting to see if he is in this trade this way. But, yeah, we'll go McDaniels, Conley, and Shannon. For Giannis, I guess that is only 37. So, yeah, you're going to be a little bit short there in terms of the numbers. So you will need Randall just to get the numbers up as well. So, yeah, maybe Minnesota is like a couple, just a piece too short. Just a piece too short because, again, even if you have the piece to trade, do you have the piece to be able to retain the talent and the depth in the trades as well, too? Speaking of, I guess, Milwaukee, I was going to say they have way more two-way guys, but that's because of the interviews and there is definitely, more roster spots taken there. But, Ayo, Giannis trade machine. We'll see if he actually ends up getting traded in this offseason or in this season itself, or if the speculation is just, again, stuff that is headed toward what would be a more, maybe more major offseason move, more complicated offseason moves, could get more inner workings figured out there, potentially get more 3-team deals in the mix. But we are starting to wind down the games for tonight as well, too. Hey, yo, we might have to make one final switch of the broadcast to see what's going on here. We got another game that pause has finished up. So we will officially make the switch over. OKC, like we said, getting the win versus New Orleans. So we will see what else we even have on the slate left as well, too. Suns versus Nets. Hey, yo. We can't get to this game quick enough. It is what it is. Pause. Pistons versus Denver. Okay, speaking of Denver being a fun, Jokic-less team, here we go. Murray versus Cade. It is what it is. Oh, chat. Hey, yo. How's it going to make us re-sign in? Are these Pistons games, like, actually local restricted? It usually says local restrictions. No, what happened, chat? Hey, yo. Some reason we just signed out. It is what it is. Okay, wait a second. Let me sign back in real quick. Let me get the league pass fired back up. I think I definitely typed in the password wrong the first time. It is what it is. Yes, sir. Let's see if we can get this re-entered correctly. Oh, okay, of course. We're just going to have to enter it in wrong the first time. It is. Oh, no, clear. Ayo. We can just hit the clear button right there. If only the keyboard will work again. Okay, we're spending more time trying to re-enter the password. Oh, there we go. There's access to the keyboard. This shouldn't be this complicated, though Roku app and Roku app remote can be a little bit of a maze, a puzzle from time to time, but I think we do have it finally locked in. Once it loads, we should be good to go. Hey, yo. Oh, chat. What is this? What is this? Oh, no. Imagine we have some renewal issues for some reason, like randomly on the third quarter of Pistons versus Nuggets. Let's go to Brooklyn versus Phoenix and see what happens. All right, here, we're going to have to go to break, technical timeout. Are we going to have to go to resubmit the league pass payment break and see what happens here? Okay, I guess we'll see if we can get Dylan Brooks versus Michael Porter Jr. Hey, yo. Of course this will be the one that loads. It is what it is. Pause. Okay, we'll see. Should we go back and see now if the other one works? I don't know. I guess because the other problem is we've got Clippers Jazz right now as the other Peacock game. I mean, Clippers Jazz, what are we doing? Hey, yo, we're calling it the AJ Dembasta Bowl. Both those teams are going to be battling it out to be drafting AJ Dembasta. It is what it is. So, yeah, there must be some... We've always been able to watch Pistons games in the past. I don't know why it wouldn't be loading this time. But, okay, there we go. Hey, yo. I don't know why it was giving us the log in, it was giving us the menu of options for League Pass. It was like, oh, no, we're signing up for League Pass for the 27th time. Hey, yo, no wonder they're able to keep this thing alive. It seems like nobody has it, but they just keep double charging us. It is what it is. But we got Detroit up. I guess Detroit is up 12 at this point going into the fourth, so it's not like we need to get super locked in. They are kind of a comfortable lead, but yeah, in terms of the two teams, it is the two probably most competitive teams at this point. Obviously the Pistons being the 1 seed in the East. And ayo, actually we need to get the pregame or the postgame, we should say, of this Sixers-Bucks game off the TV, because actually Jazz versus the Clippers is probably... Oh, Purdue versus Indiana. Hey, yo. We're out here missing the college basketball. It is what it is. Oh, did we accidentally fat finger St. Denis Medical? Nope, we're good to go. We're good to go. We kept scrolling. Markkanen versus Kawhi. The matchup, Lowry Markin trade machine, the most forgotten guy of this whole trade season, not by necessarily, the locked-in NBA community. But your casual fan, per se, wouldn't necessarily be going around telling people, like, hey, you know what's going on in the NBA that you need to get in on? Pause. Is the Lowry Markin trade machine. The problem is he's on the Jazz. He's on the Jazz. So, I guess if you're the other superstar, it doesn't seem like anybody at this point wants to go to the Jazz quite yet. Again, if this was a Giannis situation, it would actually seem like with these rosters, with the winning desires, I guess, of both of these teams, with the sort of winning timelines that they've established for themselves, it would seem beneficial for both of them. Actually, like a Giannis trade would make a ton of sense. Again, Milwaukee's one of the they have they have some of the most picks in the league, one of the more asset-rich teams that we have. But the fact that Giannis would have to go to Milwaukee, Milwaukee, he is in Milwaukee. The fact that Giannis would have to go to Utah does seem like just kind of a little bit of a weird fit for what is going on there. I guess, Markkanen is there, like we're saying. But this could definitely be a good 3-team opportunity. Markkanen could be a good 3-team inducer as well, too. Either, of course, finding a landing spot for Markkanen and getting equal assets back for Giannis, I guess, at that point. Or, like we're saying, it could be actually Markkanen to Milwaukee for Giannis, but then there's some ancillary things from some other teams being shuffled in as well, too, for something else. Ace Bailey? Like, Markkanen and Ace Bailey is kind of a trade, honestly. If you're Milwaukee, do you have to... I mean, you're going to do right by Giannis, and you probably have to, set him down wherever he wants to get traded. But Ace Bailey might want to go to Salt Lake, and they might want to sit in the Salt Flats. I don't know. Ace Bailey and Markkanen at 55.4. Giannis and Thanasis are going to be how many? 54.1. And then Thanasis 2.2. He's on the minimum, so his minimum's going up. His price is going up. Shout out Thanasis. How old is he? 33. Thanasis putting in that work. Keep it up. I almost called him son. But he's almost a decade older now, so it is what it is. But we've got a 2 for 2. In this case, it would work. Giannis, 9 wins better than Lowry Markkanen. So it just shows you would have to, I guess, obviously add more to get the value up, but it does just show the difference in Giannis and the top end first team All NBA guys than maybe even like a third team consensus type of player in the league. But Ace Bailey top 5 pick as well too this year, so I think Ace Bailey's still probably like a pick and a half on the open market. But I don't know if you're having to sprinkle in too much more in terms of future assets. If it is those two guys, again, Markkanen just does have to be valuable on his own. Like, Markkanen's a guy that can get traded for 4 first-round picks. So if he's 4 and Giannis is 5.5 or 6, then, again, that's 1.5. Then maybe, that's your guy that accounts for all those things. Your other asset to help up the price and the creative side of the trade. And then, like we're saying, it just should be a little bit more even because of the fact that both these players are of that superstar nature, and Markkanen would be getting that similar type of deal back for him as well too. So, I don't know. Like we said, when the moves will be made, but we assume that in 2026, at some point, Giannis will be playing for a different team. I don't think, again, he will be finishing the calendar year in Milwaukee on this team. It is what it is. It's been a run. I'm sure the Remember Giannis in Milwaukee time will be a great time for when that is upon us. But up until then, I guess we'll just have to theorize on what the potential trades would be for him and where he goes. And again, as much as people don't want to give, I guess, any kind of credit to Thanasis or Alex, or there's another Antetokounmpo as well too. But as much as, again, it's no credit for what they do in the NBA. It is, as we've seen over the course of these trades, it is nice to have the ability to not have to, immediately just cut everybody from the roster. Again, Thanasis without Giannis, it's like Thanasis probably just, gets himself released from the roster, because he's going to have to go play on Giannis's team and just going to have to be in that lineup. It is, but for the most part, between the veterans that they have there and the young talent they have invested in, they should be able to do something at some point. But Hendricks, Williams, Kyle Anderson, Nurkic, Niang, Cody Williams, Walker Kessler, Keontae George, Kevin Love, Walter Clayton Jr. Mikhailuk, Filipowski. Like, there is some depth here for this team. Filipowski for Giannis, we might have thrown this one out in the past. Hey, yo. But Filipowski for Giannis is not getting too terrible as well, too. So, hey, yo, I don't know if anybody else has requested a trade besides, again, when Kuminga or whatever did recently. Seems like all of that is pretty peaceful. So, when we return after the short break, we will be back to wrap up the Tuesday night live stream here on the Rem and Sam pod. Don't go anywhere. It's been fun. But, yeah, we've, of course, just got to wrap up the live stream right after this. We'll be right back. Don't touch the dial. All right, chat, we are back, and quickly to end up the Tuesday night live stream here, we will look up the, quickly scan through, I should say, the night of NBA hoops, of course, that we have been following along a little bit to the background as well, but just to get an overview of what actually ended up happening over the course of the night. Hey, yo, chat. You know, they don't print them in the newspaper. I guess they still do print them in the newspaper, but we don't check them in the newspaper anymore, but you still got to look at the box scores in 2025. It is what it is. Zion Williamson with 21. 8 for 11 from the field. Shout out. You love to see it. +4 as well, too. I mean, Murphy, hey, yo. Unfortunately, against OKC, you know, a top trade market candidate right now. Right now, you'd probably like to see his competitiveness against these contending teams be at, you know, a little bit of a higher level. And I guess, unfortunately for him, he probably registered one of his worst games of the season. 3 for 20 from the field, 1 for 11 from 3. And Sadiq Bey, 4 for 16. Hey, yo, just a casual 7 for 36 from the Bey Murphy, the offices of Bey and Murphy. Or 7 for 36 in this one. It is what it is. And Herb Jones, 3 for 12. Hey, yo, Zion being this much of a bright spot in 2026 is very, very encouraging. Matovich, you know, a little something off the bench. And then Missy as well, too. 4 for 4. So, yeah, Missy and Zion. We were talking about, you know, kind of the 3-person duo there for the center power forward minutes. And maybe you just play 2 out of 3 all the time because, you know, you can't necessarily, like we've said before, play Missy and Zion and Derek Queen all together. But I think you can play Zion and Queen. You can play Zion and Missy. You can play Queen and Missy. You can play, I guess, Missy and maybe might be missing a combo at this point. I don't know. But, you know, you can play any 2 of the 3 guys. But I don't know if you can actually play all 3 together. But if Zion were to start shooting a little bit more from 3, and same with Derek Queen as well too, you know, then maybe anything is possible. You could play all 3 of those guys together. Again, spacing would just be the biggest priority there. So if you had a guy that could manage to update the spacing as well with his own game, that would be all-time type stuff for him as well. And Fears, you know, 7 points, a little something tonight. Shout out for the first-round pick for them. Shea, of course, yada, yada, yada. 29 for Shea. 17 for Isaiah Joe, 5 for 10. So he's the Brandon bench guy that steps up tonight. Brooks Barnheiser getting 5 minutes, but no points. Ousmane Dieng? What did I almost just call him? Guzman? Hey, yo. Shout out. But Ousmane Dieng, 4 points, 2 for 5 from the field in 20 minutes. Oh, chat, that's plenty of time. 20 minutes is plenty of time. You can put up 20 points in 20 minutes. What's Ousmane Dieng doing? He only needs to make 10 shots. He only needs to make 1 shot every other possession almost to put up 20 points in a quarter. Maybe get a foul every now and then. So our guy Ousmane Dieng is letting us, well, I don't know, you know, what am I going to say? Letting us down. Hey, yo, chat. It is what it is. But, you know, we could use some more stats this season from Ousmane Dieng, is what we'll say as fans of his game. But Dort, 4 for 12. Wiggins, 4 for 11. Just a hard-fought game. Rounded out game. It is what it is. And, you know, Shea just, again, Ayo, turns out when they need him in the fourth quarters, he does deliver pretty reliably. So, shout out. He, of course, might have to be the actual number 1 at this point. Let me see if it's even possible for me to go back this far. Pause. Hey, yo, whoa. And see what we have going on for action. NFL action on this day. Belichick will not be a Hall of Famer. We just made it full circle. All the way back around to Belichick will not be a first ballot Hall of Famer. Okay, shout out. It is what it is, I guess. But, yeah, I guess to go back to NBA here real quick and not get too sidetracked by what we've got going on for the rest of the ordeal. Pelicans Thunder out of the way. Bucks versus Sixers, which the Sixers did end up getting to 140 on the game as well too. George 32, Embiid 29. Has Paul George even scored 30 in a game this year? You hate to be disrespectful. You hate to not assume it of him. Again, his versatility, he's got a little bit of three-point shot in there as well too. Of course, you would expect that he could get to 30, twice, 3-4 times a month. Hey, yo. Sorry, long drink break. Hey, yo. As long as, his three-pointer is falling, he could be 27, 28 a game on average at his high end, 15 a game this year. He has had 9, 10, 14, 17, 15 as of late. So nothing too crazy on the high end. But in terms of the actual game highs themselves for our guy, Paul George, let's see what we're able to... Oh, excuse us, chat. Hey, yo. Let's see what we're able to register. 35. He did grab a 35 earlier this year, which is up from his 33. 35, his highest total in each of the last 2 years. So what did he have again tonight? Was that 37? Oh, 32. Ayo, shout out. Okay, 35, still the highest recently. It is what it is, which is, I guess, a little bit crazy in some ways. 23, so 35 is his only 30-point performance. So does that mean he used it up already for this year? Shout out, Paul George. 25, 26, that's this year. Okay, yeah, so he's got one more. Only his second 30-point performance, 11 for 21. But this was, December 14th, so it was, I don't know, soon enough ago that he's starting to, play better. I mean, he definitely is playing better, but is it enough recently ago to say he has been playing way better? 35 then to 9 now is pretty good there across the board. 35, 46, or no, 41, 35, sorry, 41, 35, 88 splits on 15.5 3-point shooting percentage. To me, it just all kind of looks like, the big jumble there at the end. But yeah, shout out to Paul George for a little bit of a mini resurrection in the game here tonight with 32. Turner with 31. So as long as he's going toe to toe, making those contracts look profitable there, look good there for that deal that he is on. I don't know if scoring is going to be the main part of that. And like we're saying, they gave up 140 to the Sixers, so it's clearly there's a defensive thing going on here and a commitment to that is just not quite happening. Ryan Rollins, though, 24 in the game, 9 for 17 for a guy, Ryan Rollins. Thanasis with 2. Oh, ayo. We got to get back to the lineup for this one. Shout out Jazz Clippers, though. A game we do have on in the background we mentioned earlier. Jazz up 1, giving the Clippers, giving them all they got. Hey, yo. I guess the Clippers do have a little bit of a better record, kind of by 6 or 7 games, quite a bit. But Denver versus Pistons, Denver same as well, giving the Pistons quite the run for their money. Or maybe the other way around. Maxey and Portis on the... Portis with 8, Max with 9 assists. Portis with 12 rebounds, Embiid with 9. And then Paul George with the 30-plus points there. So couldn't quite get to the team triple-double player performance, unfortunately. But again, I think it more goes to the way that it's laid out and the way that it all kind of is paced. And everybody is responsible for their own thing over the course of this one here. But yeah, shout out, of course, to Rollins as well too for a good game tonight. You love to see, like we're saying, him start to take step forwards, because he may be the face of the franchise at some point here pretty soon. It is what it is. But yeah, we've got Bucks versus Sixers as one of the final scores there. And then we've got the games that we mentioned that are going right now. Wizards, Blazers. We did mention Sar cooking. We might just have to see what Sar has been doing, for an entirety since the new year here. Because he has at least had a couple of, showed out type performances and had a really, really impressive number. I guess I don't know how consistent he has been with that. 17 a game this year. 17 and 7. He is 50% from the field. I know every time we've tapped in and seen that, it has been a little higher than expected. I mean, think about that. Last year, Sar was 39% from the field. Just to be in half of the games, 50%. I mean, if we go at 24-25, if we go at the way last year ended, let's see here. I mean, you can see the run of losses. I mean, this is just an encouragement to anybody, even if you're not a basketball fan. Field goal percentage, just to correlate it to anything in your life. Anything that you feel is lacking production, anything you feel is producing at 39.4% of a whole, pause. If there's anything in those marks. But that just shows you that as well, too. Literally the last half of the year, he was just about the same as he was the first half of the year. I guess he wouldn't necessarily have been better because that was his average basically for the whole year. He's 38.8. So, yeah, he's actually, as you would expect, slightly worse. But 30.7, overall, cleans up okay for sure. But, yeah, he is at 130-point performance so far. In last year's performance, he had 34 in March. Shout out would have been his first time, followed with 20-22-19. So, putting together a decent little run there. Decent run to end the season. Only 2 double-digit episode games as well, which did feel a little bit personal. But he got 13 a game on each of them as well. So, again, credit to where credit is due there. But, definitely seeing Sar getting better over the course of the year, like we're saying. I guess finishing with 29. Sharp with 31, and 31 on one of his better shooting performances of the year as well, too. How many times has Shaedon Sharpe even been over 50% from the field, unfortunately? Is maybe something that we could ask ourselves, along the Paul George lines there. But Klingon, 7 rebounds, 7 defensive rebounds, 13 offensive rebounds. I guess, 20 total. Sar's 29 and 12, dwarfed by Klingon, I guess, in this one. It is what it is. Klingon, a mammoth on the glass. Shout out. Let's see what he ended up having for points. Was his 20... undershadowed by some points? Overshadowed? Is undershadowed the right way to say it? 3 fouls. 20 rebounds. 14 points. So a 14 and 20 game. 14, 20, and 2. And 1 steal, 1 block. So, all over the stat sheet for our guy Klingon, Grant, Yang, Love, Sissoko, Rupert, Murray. Would probably be a pretty stacked lineup. And then, stacked in, the whatever sense of the word. And then, the rest of the guys you got hanging out there as well too. But the Wizards, shout out, have been like a kind of feisty thing going. And, again, there is obviously the possibility, the trend that they will be near the top of the draft. But 9-game skid, you don't even realize it because it's Washington. They've been in this realm for the last couple of years. This is where they've been needing to operate because they've been looking to continue to collect the top of talent, and they need to be there again this year. But like we're saying, if they just have these wins and have these performances and have their top players like this step out every once in a while, for them to win some games and show these types of top end talent, then this is exactly what you want right here. You have Boozer paired up with Sar. I mean, that's starting to sound pretty interesting. Peterson as a guard as well. Maybe it's just the one they end up going with because it's just like Peterson, Trey Johnson, who was the guy, Bub Carrington before this, who was, Johnny Davis. Johnny Davis, Johnny Davis, who do we say as well? We can't keep any of these guys straight. It is what it is. Trey Johnson, Johnny Davis, Trey Johnson, and now we've only got room for 2 out of the 3 names. It is what it is. But shout out to Sar with his 29, 12, and 6. And this one, Keshawn George showing up, and then they mentioned as well too, like we're saying, Shaden Sharp on his 31. And this one, even though it is unfortunately in a loss for the Blazers, so I don't know how that's gonna help canonize him there. But we've got Jazz versus Clippers as of late. Probably not the mistake that you want to be making there in terms of mixing up the names. It is what it is. But you got Harden with 12. Bailey, speaking of our guy Baylor, don't trade him for Giannis. Bailey and market him for Giannis too much at this point. Bailey with 10 points in the first half. We got to keep an eye. Keep an eye while he's cooking Kawhi? Go all in while he's ball in on James Harden? Oh, chat. What is this rhyme scheme that we're just dropping here? Oh, speaking of, dropping schemes, Harden weaving his way through the defense. Dropping schemes? Is that a good term for it? There is something around schemes and skis or something, I think, that could work. I don't know if we're the ones to think about it. It is what it is. But the rhythm from Elliott to the corner, to the top. Oh, chat. Not the best 3-point shooting team overall. So if Edwards is not taking that 3, then, it is a little bit nerve-wracking. He does get the baseline jumper to fall. So there is, going to be a stop clock with about a minute left. But, it is going to be a battle for the end of that one there. So, shout out to Bailey for his impressive stepping up performance and his energy as well too. Like you see him fighting right there on that possession for the loose ball is impressive, and you love to see like we're saying, the energy, the fight, the hustle in all of these moments, even when you are the highly projected guy. So, shout out, a little NBA, a little light NBA Tuesday. A little light NFL Hall of Fame news, a little light college, nothing too crazy on a Tuesday night. But speaking of crazy, speaking of, I guess high octane, you might say. Speaking of octane, we do have an do we just let this, I guess it's not college basketball. We're just thinking, do we let this game run out second quarter, not second half? I guess we were in college basketball mindset there for a little bit. Michigan, shout out. Great win. We should mention again, Dusty May, shout out as well, too. Doing a great job on that turnaround. Is that Ace Bailey with the 3-pointer at the end of the half? I guess that would be that update that we saw to 13. But getting the open three-pointer, the jumper looks smooth. He was really calling for it on marketing as well, too. I mean, he was wide open. So it was absolutely the right call. But, him and Bailey and Markkanen, if Bailey gets to play like this, it's like, don't trade Markkanen. Just see what you have. Don't play them together. You got 2 big wings like that. Pause. There's always going to be a trade market for both those guys, even if there is no trade market. It is what it is. Shout out. So, like we were saying, speaking of the high energy, high octane stuff, we do have a new album this week, if I'm not mistaken, to react to. Don Tolliver will be back with Octane. So we will be here Friday night reacting to that live, listening to that shout out for the first time. It's going to be fun. Can't wait that he is back and that we are reacting now with him back in the mix as well, too. That's just going to be all-time stuff. One of our favorites, one of the most creative that we have going right now, one of the most consistent. So you imagine that is going to be an absolute hit. And we are looking forward to it. So you can be here Friday to watch us, of course, react live to that. And you can follow us and message us on the Instagram. On the Instagram, hey yo kids, message us on the Instagram at old Rim and Sam Pod over there. And if you want to, follow us on the YouTube here as well too, absolutely free. Feel free. Like I said, we'll be back Friday night with the Made Up Award Show, and we will be back later on as well too. After that, Tim Hardaway Jr. with the 3 at the top of the key. Oh, chat rattles in right over Isaiah Stewart. Hey, yo, is Isaiah Stewart shorter than Tim Hardaway Jr.? Hey, shout out to Tim Hardaway Jr. It is what it is. Just not the main thing that you would expect. But, yeah, like I said, we will be back Friday night hanging out, Octane. It will be fun. Don Tolliver, shout out. We can't wait. And we will see y'all then. Go enjoy the next couple of days for y'all. We will see y'all later. Oh, chat. Hey, yo. We're not paying attention. We've got a minute left in this Suns versus Pistons versus Nuggets game. I guess I'm not paying attention to what quarter it is as well too for this one. 56 seconds left in the 4th. So we might as well do our journalistic integrity and just watch this real quick, and then we'll be good to go. IT says we have to report on the end of this game and see what happens, since we are sitting right here in final minute action. We will take a quick peek, and Kennard on the back door. Hey, yo, whoa. Gets the inbound from the baseline, the 30-foot hash, and immediately just cuts right to the basket, gets the play. It's like picture perfect basketball. Kennard is, going to the basket for an easy slam there. 2 points. Valanciunas. Murray with the classic little beats his man off the dribble and then gets to the basket. Kind of does that little dish off to Jokic. Jokic with the little layup, but this time it's actually Valanciunas, and it still does work. Denver only down by 1, so, they're still in the stop and score type of game. 7-6-5. The shot clock's winding down. Oh, Cade on Murray loses the ball. He lost the basketball. Murray kind of stripped it away, but Tobias Harris, the veteran leader, Tobias Harris, it's like the best shot he's hit in like 3 years for the Pistons. A little fall away, defender in his face, just picking it up off the floor, off the dribble. Oh, chat. Hey, yo, stuff of beauty. Murray sidesteps. He's fouled. Oh. Oh. Oh, chat. Fouled behind the 3-point line. 3 seconds left. Down 3. Is he going to get 3 free throws? Fouled by 31. Green? Hey, yo. I don't know if we said that enough times there, but Green, 31, is locked in and ready to go. It is what it is. He's right there on defense. Great job of the contest, but I guess unfortunately it is a little bit too much at the end of the day. We've got the free throw attempt 1 is definitely up for it for sure. So Murray, a chance to bring it to a layup game here. If they, I guess with 3.5 though, they don't really have a chance to get a stop and get back down and score. It really is just like a stop and turn and, shoot the basketball wherever you're at, or try to steal the inbound, or, get tricky with the inbound in terms of throwing it off somebody or something. I don't even know what you can think of at this point. But you've only got 3 seconds left to try to make up 2 points. It may be, can you throw it off the backboard as hard as you can to somebody, and then they're able to rebound it and bring it in for the layup? I don't know if that makes sense. But Murray, free throw line. We've got him a chance to bring it to 1. There he goes. 3.5, so they can still steal the inbound. Murray on Cade, got a little handsy last time. He does. Oh, Cade's able to get away. Cade falls down off the quick foul. It is what it is. But he's just going for the sell job. He's just going to make sure that it is left no doubt that it is called the way that it is. So it probably will mean that it will, of course, like we're saying, favor the favor the Pistons here. I mean, as it would 2.3 left. The Piston Cup winner for eternity. Hey, yo. As they foul. They did foul pretty quickly there. Only did use a tenth of a second, according to the home clock operators. Tobias Harris at the free throw line, his first of the night. So they'll still have at most a 3-point lead with 2 seconds left. They will have to go for a 2, of course, but they will have the opportunity. Oh, chat, the news is rolling in. The news is rolling in as we leave. Hey, yo, it is what it is. We see that there's a the Rising Star draft was tonight. How could we be such bad basketball fans and not remember that the Rising Star draft was tonight? It is what it is. We're going to have to, look at that real quick as well, too, and react to those rosters. I saw they had a draft. So a draft of 3 rosters. I guess we didn't see the order. Was Concanapple actually the first pick, or was he just the first name listed there? I'm not certain, but we do have timeout left. A classic. I feel like the NBA has done a decent job this year. Actually, now that I look at this, the NBA has done a decent job of end of game scenarios and really trying to speed things up and make sure it doesn't just drag out. But this is a good 5 minutes for 5 seconds pause. I mean, maybe probably a goal that everybody should shoot for. But sometimes, in the NBA, the 5 minutes is 5 seconds correlation is probably not who's playing in this one, and probably just updates based on all that stuff, based on that as well. But the energy is still there for sure, and the rosters here for the Rising Stars games, like we said, have been announced. Oh, Reed Shepherd. Yeah, he's been cooking. He's going to be a problem in this format for sure. Still somehow 2 seconds left in this Denver game, waiting for the final play. Hey, yo. I mean, of course, it's basketball. You never want it to end, but it's just like for the next, it's just the next thing as well, too. Just get to the next one. Murray puts up the shot. Oh, 0.7 left. Did he get a foul? Did he get a foul with 3 seconds left? Or did he get a 3-point foul with less than a second left? There's no way. There's no way. Oh, chat, the refs are stepping up tonight. It is what it is. Murray running a one-legged three-pointer from the corner is not even, I don't even know if he was totally behind the three-point line set when he fired that one up, but the refs are giving him the basket anyways. They just say, hey, Denver, just take a free shot at overtime. Why don't you? Why don't you? So we'll see if our TV stops buffering here. What happens? Okay, here are the roster. Every player named to the Rising Star games. The rookies, of course, Cedric Cower, Igor Denham. Hate it or love it, the Brooklyn Nets have gone 1 for 5 for their first round pick, so there is something there with Igor Denham. Shout out. Jeremiah Fears, Cooper Flagg, Dylan Harper, Trey Johnson, Con Knuppel, Murphy Boyles, and Derek Queen are all basically, untouchable, awesome rookies. Pause this year. For sophomores, year 2 guys, Buzelis, Castle, Klingon, Keshawn George, Mitchell, of course, probably the biggest year 2 riser from this group and not really having much to do on the team in year 1, but really ascending this year into a different role. And Murray misses the second free throw. Hey, yo, so there goes the game right there. But SAR, like we said, Reed Shepherd, Cam Spencer, Jalen Tyson, Khalil Ware, and Jalen Wells for the Grizzlies is the other option. And for the G League guys, Sean East, Ron Harper Jr., you get the other Ron Harper, David Jones Garcia, shout out a baller, Yannick Conan, hey yo, Neuterhauser, and then Elijah Martin from the Raptor 905, Tristan Newton, Bio Rio Grande Valley Snipers. What are we saying? I don't even know if there's a bio in there. Rio Grande Valley Vipers. Hey yo, there it is. And then our guy Yang Henson from the Rip City Remix. So we've got a stacked class of international candidates. It's going to be fun to see where they land and who is the names that jump out the most, who are the ones that, sort of fall back for the American audience. It is what it is. But yeah, shout out, like we were saying, to the Rising Star games, to the teams as well. We didn't even see the team names, the team captains, but the rookies, the sophomores, and the G Leagues. I guess that was just it for how they have it labeled here. It's not the NBA on TNT guys coaching this year. So, hey, yo, Denver not able to secure the win against Detroit. Murray choked. Shout out. What a way to end a Tuesday night live stream. It is what it is. Okay, like I said, we'll be back Friday. Thank y'all for jumping on with us, and we look forward to seeing y'all in a couple days.